Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the dragon god of Acnologia's lineage, the apocalypse dragon Naruto x Erza, fairy tale. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. The dragon's shadow. The mountains north of Fiori stood silent under the afternoon sun. Most travelers avoided these peaks. Rumors of strange magic, unexplained disappearances, and eerie blue lights kept the superstitious away. Today, the silence broke as a flock of birds suddenly scattered from the treetops. A young man sat cross-legged on an outcropping of rock, eyes closed, his spiky blonde hair shifting slightly in the breeze. 3 whisker-like marks adorned each cheek, giving him a feral appearance. His tattered black cloak couldn't hide his athletic build or the strange blue markings that occasionally flickered across his exposed forearms. Naruto opened his eyes, piercing blue with slitted pupils that narrowed as he detected something approaching. He'd lived alone in these mountains for years, and visitors meant trouble. "Whoever's out there, I know you're coming," he called out, standing in one fluid motion. "I'm not in the mood for company." The trees rustled as 3 figures emerged. Men in dark robes adorned with silver embroidery depicting dragon scales. The lead figure, tall with a jagged scar across his face, stepped forward. "We've been searching for you for quite some time," the man said, his voice unnaturally deep. "The one who carries the blood of the apocalypse dragon." Naruto's expression didn't change, but the temperature around him dropped noticeably. "I don't know what you're talking about. Leave." The scarred man smiled. "The magic signature doesn't lie. We've tracked every dragon slayer in Fiori, but yours is different. Ancient. Divine." He extended a hand. "We are the Dragon's Covenant. We seek to restore dragon magic to its rightful glory. Someone with your abilities would be, not interested." Naruto cut him off, blue energy beginning to shimmer around his body. "Last warning. Walk away." The 3 men spread out, magic circles appearing beneath their feet. The scarred leader's hands became covered in red scales. "We don't need your cooperation, just your blood." They attacked simultaneously. The scarred man lunged forward with flame-covered fists while his companions launched blasts of earth and water magic from the sides. A perfect coordinated attack against a single target. Naruto didn't move until the last possible second. Then, with speed that made him little more than a blur, he sidestepped the fire mage's charge, grabbed his outstretched arm, and hurled him into the path of the water blast. As steam filled the air, Naruto vanished, reappearing behind the earth mage and delivering a devastating kick that sent the man flying into a nearby boulder. "Dragon Slayer magic," Naruto said, dodging another fire blast. "But artificial. 2nd generation. You've got lacrimas implanted in your bodies." The leader snarled, "And you've got it in your blood." Apocalypse dragon roar. A stream of crimson fire shot toward Naruto, who finally showed a flicker of surprise. He raised his hand, and blue energy swirled around it, forming a spiraling sphere. Rasengan. The spinning orb of energy collided with the dragon roar, creating a shockwave that flattened the nearby trees. When the dust settled, Naruto stood unharmed, his eyes now glowing with an eerie blue light. "You've got no idea what you're messing with," he said quietly. "You want to see dragon magic? Fine." Blue markings spread across his skin, forming intricate patterns reminiscent of dragon scales. The air around him distorted as raw magical energy poured from his body. Apocalypse Dragon's Havoc Fist. His punch connected with nothing but air, yet the scarred mage 50 feet away suddenly doubled over as if struck in the gut. The man coughed blood, looking up in terror. What are you?" Naruto walked toward him slowly. "I'm what happens when you don't mind your own business." Before he could reach the man, all 3 attackers suddenly vanished in flashes of light, teleportation magic. Naruto stopped, the blue markings receding from his skin as he frowned at the empty space where his opponents had stood. Cowards. He glanced around, sensing the forest for any remaining threats. Finding none, he sighed and looked at the devastation their brief fight had caused. Great. Time to move again. 3 days later and hundreds of miles away, the fairy tale guild hall buzzed with its usual chaotic energy. Tables overturned as Natsu and Gray brawled in the center of the room, other guild members either cheering them on or scrambling to save their drinks. Is that all you got, Ice Princess? Natsu taunted, his fists aflame. Gray smirked, already in his boxers somehow. I'm just getting warmed up, Flame Brain. Their collision course was interrupted by the sharp sound of metal striking wood. Erza Scarlet stood in the doorway, her scarlet hair framing a face that promised pain to anyone who continued fighting. The armored mage carried a massive horn, a trophy from her latest solo mission. Are you two fighting again? She asked, her tone deceptively calm. And no. Just friendly sparring. Natsu squeaked, arms suddenly around Gray's shoulders. Best buddies here. Gray added, sweating profusely. Erza nodded approvingly before making her way to the bar where Mira Jane waited with a welcoming smile. Successful mission, I see, the white-haired barmaid said, eyeing the enormous horn. Quite straightforward. The monster was exactly where reported. Erza accepted the strawberry cake Mira slid toward her. Any messages while I was gone? Before Mira could answer, the guild doors swung open again, revealing a small, elderly man with a serious expression. Master Makarov, Erza acknowledged, standing immediately. The guild master nodded. Erza, good timing. I need to speak with you. My office. The serious tone silenced the rowdy guild hall. Erza followed Makarov upstairs, leaving her precious cake behind, a sure sign that whatever awaited was important. Inside the cluttered office, Makarov settled behind his desk, shuffling through papers until he found what he sought. I've received troubling reports from the Magic Council, he began without preamble. Have you heard of a dark guild called Dragon's Covenant? Erza shook her head. No. New players? Not exactly. They've operated in shadows for years, but recently became more active. He pushed a sketch across the desk, a symbol of a dragon coiled around a sword. They're hunting dragon slayers. Erza's eyes narrowed. Natsu and Gajil are being watched, but I don't think they're the primary targets. Makarov stroked his mustache. The council detected unusual magical activity in the northern mountains. Energy signatures matching ancient dragon magic, but different. More powerful. Another dragon slayer we don't know about. Perhaps something more. Makarov looked uncharacteristically troubled. There are legends about dragon magic beyond what our dragon slayers possess. Divine dragon magic. Erza leaned forward. And you believe this unknown magic user is being targeted? Or is part of Dragon's Covenant? We don't know. That's why I'm sending you to investigate. He held up a hand to forestall her protest. Alone, initially. We can't risk sending Natsu or Gajil if this is a trap specifically for dragon slayers. Erza nodded decisively. When do I leave? Immediately. The last energy surge was detected near Mount Hakob. Start there. He passed her a communication lacrima. Report anything unusual directly to me. Consider it done. The frigid wind howled across Mount Hakob as Erza trudged through knee-deep snow. She'd re-equipped into her cold Empress armor, which provided resistance against the freezing temperatures. 3 days of searching had yielded nothing but monsters and more snow. This is the area, she muttered to herself, consulting the magical tracker the council had provided. But whatever was here is gone now. The tracker's needle suddenly swung violently to the east. Erza's head snapped up, her senses on high alert. Something was coming, something with enough magical power to make the tracking device go haywire. She requipped instantly into her Heaven's Will armor, a dozen swords materializing around her. Show yourself. The snow-laden trees at the edge of the clearing rustled. 3 figures emerged, the same robed men who had confronted Naruto days earlier. The scarred leader looked worse for wear, one arm in a makeshift sling. Titania Erza, he greeted with mock politeness. The fairy queen herself. What brings fairy tale into these remote mountains? Erza's swords pointed toward them automatically. I could ask you the same. Identify yourselves. The man offered an exaggerated bow. Kenta, of Dragon's Covenant. These are my colleagues, Riku and Sora. We're simply researchers of ancient magic. Unregistered guild activity is illegal, Erza stated flatly. Especially activity involving attacks on registered mages. Kenta's smile faltered slightly. We've attacked no one. Though we have been, rebuffed by someone we hope to recruit. Perhaps that's why you're here. A blast of blue energy suddenly cut through the conversation, striking the ground between them and sending snow and ice flying in all directions. Erza instinctively shielded herself with her swords, spinning them in front of her like a shield. I told you to leave me alone, a voice growled from above. Erza looked up to see a figure perched on a rocky outcropping. Blonde hair, whisker marks, and eyes that glowed with an inner blue light. What caught her attention most was the raw magical power emanating from him, unlike anything she'd felt before. Kenta's face twisted with rage. You followed us. You're not exactly subtle, Naruto replied, jumping down to land between Erza and the Dark Guild members. 3 artificial dragon slayers stumbling around my mountains, leaving magic trails a blind person could follow. He glanced briefly at Erza. You might want to step back, Red. These guys don't play nice. Before Erza could respond to the casual dismissal, all 3 Dragon's Covenant members attacked simultaneously. Earth Dragon's Crushing Fist. Water Dragon's Torrent. Fire Dragon's Roar. The combined elemental assault converged on Naruto, who didn't even try to dodge. Instead, he inhaled deeply, his chest expanding. Apocalypse Dragon's Roar. A beam of concentrated blue energy erupted from his mouth, so intense it appeared almost black at its core. When it collided with the incoming attacks, there was no contest, it simply overpowered them, continuing on to blast a 50-foot trench through the mountainside beyond. Erza stared in shock. That wasn't just any Dragon Slayer magic. The power, the feeling, the intensity, it was like nothing she'd ever witnessed from Natsu or Gajeel. The Dragon's Covenant members scattered, clearly outmatched. Kenta snarled as he prepared another spell, but Erza had seen enough. She flashed forward, requipping into her flight armor for increased speed, and struck Kenta with the flat of her blade, sending him crashing into a snowbank. Stand down, she commanded. By authority of the Magic Council, you're under arrest for illegal guild activities. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her intervention but turned his attention to the other 2 attackers. You heard the lady. Though personally, I prefer to finish what you started. Blue energy crackled around his fists, and the temperature plummeted further. The display was enough for Riku and Sora, who grabbed their stunned leader and activated teleportation lacrimas once again, vanishing in flashes of light. TCH, running away again. Naruto's eyes faded back to normal as he turned fully toward Erza. So, what's a fairy doing up in these mountains? Erza kept her swords ready. Looking for the source of unusual dragon magic. I assume that's you. He gave her an appraising look. Red hair, armor that changes, more swords than any person needs, you must be Erza Scarlet. And you are Naruto. Just Naruto. He glanced at the devastation his roar had caused. Let me guess. The Magic Council sent you to either recruit me or eliminate me. Neither. Fairy tale doesn't work that way. Erza dismissed most of her swords but remained alert. My guild master sent me to investigate unusual magic activity and a dark guild targeting dragon slayers. It seems I found both. Naruto scoffed. Well, mystery solved. Now you can head back to your guild and tell them everything's fine. He turned to leave, but Erza Flash stepped in front of him. Not so fast. What was that magic? It's Dragon Slayer magic, but different. More powerful. It's none of your business, Naruto replied, his voice cooling. I live alone up here for a reason. I don't bother anyone who doesn't bother me first. That dark guild will keep coming for you. Let them try. Erza studied him carefully. They called you the one who carries the blood of the apocalypse dragon. What does that mean? Something flickered in Naruto's eyes, surprise, perhaps, that she'd heard that. It means people talk too much. Apocalypse dragon. Erza's eyes widened slightly. Acnologia? You're connected to Acnologia. The temperature dropped sharply as blue markings began appearing on Naruto's skin. Don't say that name. Despite the clear warning, Erza pressed on. If you have knowledge about Acnologia, the dragon of the apocalypse, our guild needs to hear it. We've faced dragon threats before. You have no idea what you're talking about, Naruto growled, the markings spreading further. Your dragon slayers are children playing with magic they barely understand. What I have isn't something you just face and walk away from. Erza didn't back down. Then help us understand. Dragon's Covenant is targeting dragon slayers. My friends are in danger. If you know something, I know that I want to be left alone. The outburst sent a pulse of magic energy that knocked Erza back several feet. She instantly requipped into her adamantine armor, bracing for an attack that didn't come. When she looked up, Naruto was visibly struggling to contain his power, the blue markings receding slowly. Sorry, he muttered, not meeting her eyes. That's why I stay away from people. Erza lowered her shield slightly. You can't control it completely. What gave it away, he replied sarcastically, but there was less edge to his voice now. He sighed, running a hand through his spiky blonde hair. Look, those Dragon's Covenant guys aren't just collecting dragon slayers. They're hunting for artifacts, ancient texts about dragon magic. Something big. All the more reason you should come to Fairy Tail, Erza urged. Our master is one of the 10 wizard saints. If anyone can help understand what they're planning, it's Makarov. Naruto looked skeptical. I don't do well in crowds. You just demonstrated perfect control when fighting those mages. Fighting is easy. It's when I'm not fighting that things get complicated. Erza considered this, then made a decision. One day. Come back with me, speak with our master, and if you still want to leave after that, no one will stop you. Naruto looked like he wanted to refuse outright, but something made him hesitate. These dragon slayers at your guild, they're your friends? Family, Erza corrected firmly. Fairy Tail is family. Something unreadable passed across Naruto's face. One day, he finally agreed. But the first person who tries to make me part of the family gets a demonstration of why that's a bad idea. The journey back to Magnolia was mostly silent. Erza had attempted conversation several times, but Naruto's responses remained terse and evasive. She did notice how he kept a precise distance between them at all times, close enough for conversation, but far enough that their magical auras didn't intersect. It was the careful behavior of someone used to controlling every aspect of his interaction with others. As they approached the outskirts of Magnolia, Naruto became visibly tenser. His eyes darted constantly, scanning buildings, people, potential threats. When was the last time you were in a city? Erza asked. Define city. A settlement with more than 20 people. Naruto actually smiled slightly at that. About 7 years, give or take. Erza's eyebrows rose in surprise. You've been alone in the mountains for 7 years. Not entirely alone. There are monsters, the occasional lost traveler. He shrugged. It's safer that way. For whom? He didn't answer, instead focusing on the fairy tale guild hall that had come into view. The massive building with its prominent fairy emblem looked welcoming to Erza, but she could see Naruto assessing it like a potential battlefield. It's not a trap, she assured him. Though I should warn you, the guild doors burst open before she could finish, and Natsu charged out, fists already aflame. Erza's back. Fight me. Naruto reacted instantly, sliding into a defensive stance as blue energy flickered around his hands. Erza stepped between them, armored hand raised. Natsu. Stand down. He's a guest. The pink-haired dragon slayer skidded to a halt, flames dissipating as he blinked in confusion. He sniffed the air curiously, then his eyes widened. Whoa. You smell like dragon, but different. His usual grin spread across his face as excitement replaced confusion. Are you a dragon slayer too? Let's fight. Natsu. Erza's voice cracked like a whip. Inside. Now. Tell Master we've returned. Grumbling about missed opportunities, Natsu retreated into the guild. Erza turned apologetically to Naruto, who had relaxed slightly but still looked ready to bolt. As I was saying, I should warn you that fairy tale can be a bit enthusiastic. You think? Naruto muttered, the blue energy finally fading from his hands. That kid's a dragon slayer. Fire dragon slayer. Raised by Acnologia himself. Something like recognition flashed in Naruto's eyes. The Fire Dragon King, interesting. Before Erza could ask what he meant, a calm voice called from the guild entrance. Erza. Welcome back. Master Makarov stood in the doorway, his small stature belying the immense magical power Erza knew he possessed. His eyes immediately fixed on Naruto, assessing. And you've brought a guest. Come in, both of you. I believe we have much to discuss. Naruto hesitated, then nodded once. Let's get this over with. The guild hall fell unusually quiet as they entered. Dozens of eyes tracked their progress toward Makarov's office, whispers breaking out in their wake. Erza noted how Naruto kept his face carefully neutral, though his eyes constantly scanned the room. Lingering briefly on Natsu and Gajeel, who both watched him with undisguised curiosity. Once inside Makarov's office, the guild master closed the door and activated a privacy rune. So you're the source of the magical disturbance. I am Makarov Dreyer, Fairy Tale's master. Naruto. The blonde extended no hand, maintaining his distance. Makarov nodded, unsurprised by the caution. Erza, report. Erza recounted their encounter on Mount Hakob, including the Dragon's Covenant members and their apparent interest in Naruto. She hesitated only when describing Naruto's magic. His Dragon Slayer magic is unlike anything I've seen, Master. More powerful, more primal. Makarov's eyes never left Naruto. Because it's not Dragon Slayer magic, is it, young man? At least, not in the way we understand it. Naruto's eyes narrowed. You know something. I've lived a long time and read many obscure texts. Makarov settled into his chair. There are legends about dragon magic that goes beyond Dragon Slayer arts. Magic possessed by those with dragon blood in their veins. Dragon God magic. The temperature in the room dropped several degrees as Naruto's expression darkened. If you know that much, then you know why I should leave. Now. On the contrary, Makarov replied calmly. It's precisely why you should stay. The magic you possess, it's connected to Acnologia, isn't it? Silence fell, heavy and tense. Erza looked between them, hand instinctively moving toward her sword. I am not Acnologia, Naruto finally said, each word precise and controlled. But yes, there's a connection. One I didn't ask for and don't particularly enjoy. Makarov nodded thoughtfully. The dragon of the apocalypse was once human, you know. A dragon slayer whose power corrupted him, transformed him. Are you his descendant? Naruto's laugh held no humor. Something like that. A genetic joke spanning centuries. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. Look, I didn't come here for a history lesson. Erza said you might know something about Dragon's Covenant and why they're collecting Dragon Slayer magic. Deflection, Makarov noted with a small smile. But very well. What we know is limited. They emerged about 5 years ago, operating in shadows. Recently, they've become bolder, attacking known dragon slayers and raiding ancient libraries for texts on dragon magic. They're collecting components, Naruto said. Dragon lacrimas, texts, magical artifacts. The leader, Kenta, he has a second-generation fire dragon slayer lacrima implanted, but it's unstable. They all are. Erza frowned. Components for what? I don't know exactly. But they seem to believe that with the right combination of dragon magics, they can access something more powerful. Something like what I have. Makarov leaned forward. And what exactly do you have, Naruto? The blond man sighed, then held out his arm. Blue markings appeared, forming intricate patterns reminiscent of scales. Apocalypse dragon god magic. Not learned or implanted, inherited. Every cell in my body produces it naturally. That's not possible, Erza said. Dragon slayers are created through training or lacrima implantation. Dragon slayers, yes, Naruto agreed. But I'm not a dragon slayer. He struggled for words. Think of it this way, dragon slayers use magic taught by dragons or contained in lacrimas. I don't use dragon magic, I am dragon magic. Makarov's eyes widened slightly. The bloodline of Acnologia, preserved somehow. Fascinating. Cursed would be more accurate, Naruto muttered. I can't turn it off. It's always there, always pushing to be released. In the mountains, away from people, I can let it flow naturally without hurting anyone. Yet you controlled it perfectly against those dark guild members, Erza pointed out. Combat is different. It gives the power direction, purpose. Naruto's eyes met hers directly for the first time. It's like the difference between a river and a flood. Both are water, but one is channeled, controlled. The other. Destructive, Makarov. Finished for him. I understand your caution better now, young man. But I wonder if isolation is truly the answer. Naruto's expression hardened. It's the only answer I've found that doesn't end with leveled towns and dead civilians. A heavy silence fell. Erza studied Naruto with new understanding. His isolation wasn't fear or misanthropy, it was protection. Self-imposed exile to keep others safe. Makarov broke the silence. If Dragon's Covenant is attempting to harness power similar to yours, we have a serious problem. Their leader, this Kenta, what else can you tell us about him? Not much. He's got a vendetta against natural dragon slayers. Believes artificial ones like himself are being discriminated against. Naruto shrugged. Typical Dark Guild nonsense. But he's smart, and he knows more about dragon magic history than he should. Which means he has access to restricted knowledge, Makarov mused. Concerning. A sudden commotion outside the office interrupted them. Raised voices, the sound of breaking furniture, and a familiar roar, Fire Dragon's iron fist. Naruto was on his feet instantly. What's that? Erza sighed. That would be Natsu. Probably fighting with Gray again. Makarov rubbed his temples. Let's continue this discussion later. For now, he was interrupted by a tremendous crash and the sound of splintering wood. For now, let's make sure my children haven't destroyed the guild hall. Again. When they emerged, the scene was chaotic but familiar to Erza. Tables overturned, guild members either joining the fray or scrambling for cover. Natsu and Gray at the center, trading blows and insults. Ice make, hammer. Fire dragons roar. The collision of fire and ice magic sent a shockwave through the hall. Erza moved to intervene, but a hand on her arm stopped her. "Wait," Naruto said quietly, watching the battle with unexpected interest. "The fire dragon slayer, Natsu, right? Let me see what he can do." Erza hesitated, then nodded. She was curious herself about Naruto's assessment of another dragon slayer. Natsu was in typical form, all offense and no restraint, while Gray countered with more tactical ice constructs. Neither noticed they were being observed with unusual intensity. "His form is sloppy," Naruto commented. "Power without precision. But there's something." He trailed off, his eyes narrowing as Natsu unleashed a particularly powerful roar. "Interesting." The fight escalated until Lucy, trying to stop the madness, accidentally got caught in the crossfire. Before Erza could move, Naruto suddenly vanished from beside her, reappearing between Lucy and an incoming ice lance. He caught the projectile bare-handed, the ice shattering against his palm as blue energy rippled outward. The guild hall fell silent. Natsu was the first to recover, pointing an accusatory finger. "Hey! Who the hell are you to interrupt our fight?" Naruto turned slowly, the last fragments of ice melting against his skin. "Someone who doesn't like seeing innocent bystanders get hurt." His quiet intensity silenced even Natsu momentarily. Lucy, recovering from her surprise, bowed slightly. "Thank you. That was really fast." She extended a hand. "I'm Lucy Heartfilia." Naruto looked at the offered hand with momentary confusion before carefully shaking it. "Naruto. He's our guest," Erza announced to the guild at large, stepping forward. "And under my protection. Anyone who hassles him answers to me." The declaration sent a wave of whispers through the gathered mages. Natsu, predictably, saw it as a challenge rather than a warning. He approached Naruto with his characteristic grin. "You move pretty fast. And you smell like a dragon. Fight me." "Natsu." Erza's voice held a clear threat. To everyone's surprise, Naruto smiled slightly. "You've got guts, kid. Remind me a bit of myself." The smile faded. "But trust me, you don't want to fight me." "Scared?" Natsu taunted. "Scared for you," Naruto corrected, but there was no malice in his voice. "Your dragon magic is strong, but unrefined. You rely too much on raw power, not enough on technique." Natsu looked offended. "What would you know about dragon magic?" Blue energy suddenly flared around Naruto, just for a second, but enough to make everyone in the vicinity step back. "More than you could imagine." Makarov clapped his hands once, ending the confrontation. "Enough excitement for one day. Naruto will be staying with us temporarily while we address a mutual problem. I expect everyone to make him feel welcome." The guild members began dispersing, though many cast curious glances at their unusual visitor. Naruto himself looked increasingly uncomfortable with the attention. "I'll need somewhere quiet," he told Erza. "Away from crowds." She nodded. "We can arrange a room at Fairy Hills. It's usually for female members, but there are separate guest quarters." "That won't work," Makarov interrupted. "Fairy Hills is too crowded. Besides, I'd prefer if someone could keep an eye on our guest." He looked meaningfully at Erza. "Perhaps your place would be suitable, Erza. I believe you have space, and few would be better equipped to handle any situations that might arise." Erza's eyes widened slightly, but she understood the implied request. If Naruto's power became unstable, she was one of the few who might be able to contain it without casualties. "Of course, Master." She turned to Naruto. "If that's acceptable to you." Naruto looked like he wanted to object but glanced around at the crowded guild hall and sighed. "Fine. Temporary arrangement only." Mira Jane approached with a friendly smile. While you're making arrangements, perhaps our guest would like something to eat? You must be hungry after your journey. Naruto seemed thrown by the simple kindness. Yeah, actually. Food would be good. As Mira led him toward the bar, Erza and Makarov exchanged concerned glances. Are you sure about this, master? She asked quietly. His power is unlike anything I've encountered. If he loses control, all the more reason to keep him close, under friendly observation, Makarov replied. Besides, there's something about that young man. He reminds me of other lost souls who found their way to Fairy Tale. He's not looking to join the guild. Makarov smiled knowingly. Neither were you, once upon a time. Erza's home was not what Naruto expected. Located on Strawberry Street, the modest exterior concealed a spacious interior dominated by armor. Hundreds of armors and weapons, meticulously organized and displayed. You actually wear all of these? He asked, inspecting a particularly intimidating spiked ensemble. Each has its purpose, Erza replied, setting down her bag. The guest room is upstairs, first door on the left. Bathroom is across the hall. Naruto nodded, still taking in the impressive collection. You're prepared for anything. I try to be. She watched him carefully. Like you, with your isolation. Preparation for the worst. He tensed slightly but didn't deny it. Where did you learn Requip magic? That's a long story. Erza's tone made it clear the subject wasn't open for discussion. Are you hungry? I can prepare something. I ate at the guild, he reminded her. The white-haired woman, Mira, she makes good food. The best. Erza smiled fondly. Though don't tell her I said so. Her cooking rival would never forgive me. Naruto set down his small travel pack. This arrangement. I know your master asked you to watch me. Make sure I don't lose control and level the town. Erza didn't bother denying it. Partly. But he also believes you might benefit from being around other mages who understand what it means to struggle with powerful magic. No one understands this, Naruto said quietly, blue markings briefly flickering across his forearms. Dragon God magic isn't just power, it's alive, in a way. It wants to be used. To destroy. Is that why you were in the mountains? Nothing to destroy. Something like that. He walked to the window, looking out over Magnolia. It's beautiful here. Peaceful. I can see why you'd want to protect it. Erza joined him at the window. Fairy Tale protects more than just Magnolia. We look after each other, too. Naruto's expression softened momentarily before he caught himself. One day, remember. I tell your master what I know about Dragon's Covenant, then I go back to the mountains. Of course. Erza studied his profile. Though I'm curious why you agreed to come at all. You could have refused. He was silent for a long moment. Those Dark Guild members, what they're trying to do is dangerous. Not just to dragon slayers, but to everyone. If they somehow manage to harness true dragon power without understanding it. He shook his head. I've seen what happens when people play with magic beyond their comprehension. Personal experience. You could say that. His eyes met hers, surprisingly vulnerable for just an instant. Let's just say I wasn't always alone in those mountains. Before Erza could press further, a tremendous crash shook the building, followed by an all-too-familiar voice shouting from below. Hey, Erza! Is the dragon guy here? I want a rematch. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Does he ever give up? Natsu. Never. Erza sighed, moving toward the door. I'll handle this. Wait. Naruto's voice stopped her. Maybe I should talk to him. Erza looked surprised. You want to fight him? No. But I'm curious about his Dragon Slayer magic. I haven't been around a real Dragon Slayer in years. He looked almost uncomfortable admitting it. And if I'm going to be here for a day, I might as well learn something. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. Very well. But if you harm him, I won't. Naruto met her gaze steadily. I've spent 7 years learning control, Erza. I don't lose it that easily. They descended to find Natsu pounding enthusiastically on the door, happy floating beside him. Natsu, Erza began with dangerous calm. What have I told you about breaking down my door? The pink-haired dragon slayer grinned sheepishly. Not to do it. But I didn't break it this time. See? He knocked more gently. I'm learning. Why are you here? I wanted to talk to the new guy. Natsu pointed at Naruto. You said you know about dragon magic. Did you know a dragon too? Where is it now? Can I meet it? Naruto blinked at the barrage of questions. No, I didn't know a dragon personally. My situation is different. Different how? Natsu pressed, leaning forward eagerly. You smell like dragon magic, but also not. It's weird. It's complicated. Naruto glanced at Erza, who nodded encouragingly. Let's just say my connection to dragons is through blood, not training. Natsu's eyes widened. You mean you're related to dragons? That's awesome. Can you turn into one? Do you have scales? Can you fly? Despite himself, Naruto found a small smile forming. The kid's enthusiasm was infectious. No wings, sorry. The scales only appear when I use my magic. To demonstrate, he allowed blue markings to spread briefly across his forearm. Whoa! Natsu reached out to touch them, but Naruto pulled back instinctively. The dragon slayer didn't seem offended. So what kind of dragon magic do you have? Fire? Iron? Sky? Apocalypse, Naruto answered quietly. The word hung in the air, dampening even Natsu's exuberance momentarily. Apocalypse. Natsu repeated, suddenly serious. Like Acnologia? Naruto nodded once. Like Acnologia. Natsu's fists clenched. Acnologia, he's the one who killed Igneel, my father. The pain in the young dragon slayer's voice was raw and genuine. For the first time, Naruto saw beyond the brash exterior to the wound beneath. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. I'm not Acnologia. I didn't choose this magic. But you have his power, Natsu stated, not accusingly but with certainty. Some version of it, yes. That's why I stay away from people. Natsu studied him with surprising intensity. But you came here. Why? Because someone's trying to create more power like mine, Naruto explained. And that would be bad for everyone. The dragon slayer processed this, then grinned suddenly. So you're helping us. That makes you one of the good guys. Naruto blinked, thrown by the simple logic. It's not that simple, kid. Sure it is. Natsu clapped him on the shoulder before Naruto could dodge. You've got scary magic but you're using it to help people. That's what fairy tale is all about. Erza watched the exchange with interest. Natsu, for all his impulsiveness, sometimes cut straight to the heart of matters with his straightforward perspective. Natsu, she interjected. It's getting late. Naruto needs rest after his journey. Oh, right. Natsu backed up, still grinning. See you tomorrow at the guild. We can compare dragon roars. As he bounded away with Happy in tow, Naruto shook his head. Is he always like that? Always, Erza confirmed with a hint of fondness. But he has a point. The source of your magic doesn't define how you use it. Naruto's expression closed off again. Nice sentiment. Reality's more complicated. They returned inside in silence, the brief moment of connection fading. As Naruto headed toward the guest room, Erza called after him. For what it's worth, I think you have more control than you believe. You wouldn't have come here otherwise. He paused at the top of the stairs. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of running from something that will never go away. With that, he disappeared into the guest room, leaving Erza to wonder exactly what kind of man she'd brought into their midst. The night passed quietly, but Erza slept lightly, attuned to any disturbance. Around 3 a.m., a faint pulse of magic energy brought her instantly alert. She equipped a simple sword and moved silently to the guest room. The door was ajar. Inside, moonlight illuminated an empty bed. Frowning, Erza followed her senses to the rooftop, where she found Naruto sitting cross-legged, surrounded by a faint aura of blue energy. Meditation helps, he said without turning, obviously aware of her presence. The magic flows more easily when I'm not fighting it. Erza approached carefully, noting how the blue markings covered more of his body than she'd seen before. They pulsed with a gentle rhythm, like a heartbeat. Does it hurt? She asked, sitting nearby but maintaining a respectful distance. Naruto considered the question. Not exactly. It's more like pressure. Imagine holding your breath underwater, the longer you hold it, the more your lungs burn for release. And right now you're releasing the pressure. He nodded. Controlled release. Better than the alternative. They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the stars above Magnolia. The night was clear and surprisingly peaceful. You know, Erza finally said, there are many in fairy tale with dangerous magic. Gray's ice magic. Once froze an entire village accidentally. Natsu has destroyed more buildings than I can count. Mirajane's Satan's soul once went berserk during a mission. Not the same, Naruto replied, but without hostility. Their magic is powerful but conventional. Mine is. He struggled for words. It's not just destructive, it's erasure. Apocalypse dragon magic doesn't just destroy, it unmakes. Erza absorbed this with appropriate gravity. Yet you use it to protect. Like today, with Lucy. A small smile tugged at Naruto's lips. Reflex. Didn't think about it. Exactly. Erza met his eyes directly. Your first instinct was protection, not destruction. That says more about you than your magic ever could. The blue markings flickered momentarily, as if responding to his emotions. You're persistent, you know that. So I've been told. Erza smiled slightly. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be busy. As she turned to leave, Naruto's voice stopped her. Erza. Thanks. For not being afraid. She looked back over her shoulder. I've learned that the things most worth knowing are often the things others fear to approach. With that enigmatic statement, she left him to his meditation, returning to her room with much to consider. The man on her roof was dangerous, certainly, but perhaps not in the way he believed himself to be. Morning brought chaos as Erza had expected. Naruto emerged from the guest room looking surprisingly well-rested, only to find Erza in the kitchen surrounded by smoke. What happened? He asked, waving away acrid fumes. Erza stood amid the ruins of what might have been breakfast, looking uncharacteristically flustered. I may have miscalculated the cooking time. Naruto surveyed the disaster zone that was formerly a kitchen. You burned water. How is that even possible? The recipe was unclear, she defended, though a hint of embarrassment colored her cheeks. Mira makes it look so easy. To her surprise, Naruto chuckled, a genuine sound that transformed his usually guarded features. Here, let me. I've had to fend for myself for years. Before she could protest, he was already clearing away the charred remains, moving with efficient precision. Erza watched in fascination as he salvaged what ingredients remained and began preparing a simple but appetizing breakfast. Where did you learn to cook? She asked, leaning against the counter. Necessity, he replied, expertly flipping what looked like an omelette. When you live alone in the mountains, your options are learn to cook or eat raw squirrel. Easy choice. Within minutes, he'd produced 2 plates of food that actually looked edible. Erza accepted hers with surprise. This is quite good, she admitted after tasting it. Naruto shrugged, but she caught the faint pleased expression before he masked it. Like I said, necessity. They ate in comfortable silence until a communication lacrima on Erza's table activated, displaying Makarov's face. Erza, bring Naruto to the guild immediately. We have a situation. The urgency in the guild master's voice had them both moving instantly. They arrived at the guild hall to find it unusually subdued. Makarov waited with Gajeel and Wendy, both looking serious. What happened? Erza asked. Makarov's expression was grim. Dragon's Covenant made their move. Natsu was attacked while returning from a solo mission this morning. Erza's eyes widened. He'll recover, Makarov assured her. But they would have taken him if not for Gajeel's timely intervention. The Iron Dragon Slayer grunted. Bastards were using some kind of magic draining artifacts. Trying to extract his Dragon Slayer magic. Naruto stepped forward. Where's Natsu now? Infirmary, Wendy answered. I've treated his injuries, but his magical energy is severely depleted. Without waiting for permission, Naruto strode toward the infirmary. The others followed, exchanging concerned glances. Inside, they found Natsu unconscious on a bed, Lucy and Happy keeping vigil beside him. Natsu. Happy sniffled. He won't wake up. Naruto approached the bed. Studying the Fire Dragon Slayer intently. His magic container is damaged. They tried to extract his Dragon Slayer magic directly from his core. Can you help him? Lucy asked desperately. Instead of answering, Naruto placed a hand over Natsu's chest. Blue markings spread across his arm as he closed his eyes in concentration. What are you doing? Erza asked sharply. Dragon magic resonates with dragon magic, Naruto explained without opening his eyes. I can sense what they did to him. The extraction was interrupted before completion, but it left tears in his magical container. Wendy gasped. That's why my healing magic wasn't fully effective. Naruto nodded. Sky magic can heal physical wounds, but damage to a dragon slayer's magical core requires something different. His hand began to glow with blue energy. This might be uncomfortable to watch. The blue energy intensified, sinking into Natsu's chest. The unconscious dragon slayer's body arched slightly as the magic took effect. For several tense moments, nothing seemed to happen, then Natsu's eyes flew open and he gasped loudly, sitting upright. Where am I? What happened? He looked around in confusion, then focused on Naruto. You did something to me. Naruto withdrew his hand, the markings fading. Stabilized your magic core. You're welcome. Natsu blinked, then concentrated for a moment. Flames flickered to life around his fist, stronger than before. Whoa. It feels cleaner somehow. Sharper. Dragon God magic can resonate with and amplify Dragon Slayer magic, Naruto explained, suddenly looking tired. Consider it a temporary boost while you recover. Makarov stepped forward. What can you tell us about your attackers, Natsu? The Fire Dragon Slayer's expression darkened. Same guys from before, Dragon's Covenant. But they had these weird artifacts, like crystal orbs that sucked out my magic. He punched his palm angrily. Caught me off guard after I finished my job. Won't happen again. It was a targeted attack, Gajeel noted. They knew where to find him and when he'd be alone. They're getting bolder, Erza agreed. And more organized. Naruto's eyes narrowed in thought. The artifacts you described, they sound like dragon pearls. Ancient items used to harvest and store dragon magic. All eyes turned to him. You know about these items? Makarov asked. Naruto nodded grimly. They were created centuries ago, during the Dragon King festival. Some humans wanted to harness dragon power without becoming dragon slayers themselves. He glanced at Natsu. They're dangerous, especially to dragon slayers. They can extract magic directly from your core, leaving permanent damage. Why would Dragon's Covenant want to extract Natsu's magic specifically? Lucy wondered. Components, Naruto repeated his earlier assessment. They're collecting different types of dragon magic. Fire, iron, sky, combining them for something bigger. But what? Wendy asked, looking worried. Naruto exchanged a glance with Makarov. If I had to guess. They're trying to create artificial dragon god magic. A heavy silence fell over the room. Is that even possible? Erza finally asked. Theoretically. Combine enough different dragon magics in the right configuration with the right catalyst. Naruto shrugged. But it would be incredibly unstable. Potentially catastrophic. Then we need to stop them, Natsu declared, attempting to get out of bed before Lucy pushed him back down. You need rest, she insisted. Makarov nodded in agreement. Natsu stays here to recover. The rest of us need a plan. He turned to Naruto. Your knowledge of these artifacts and dragon magic is crucial. Will you help us? Naruto looked momentarily conflicted, glancing from Natsu to Erza and finally back to Makarov. These dragon pearls. I can track them. Dragon god magic resonates with any draconic artifact. Give me a map of Fiori, and I can locate them. That's excellent news, Makarov said, visibly relieved. Erza, take Naruto to the guild library. Levi can provide any references we have on these artifacts. Gajeel, organize additional security for Wendy and yourself. No dragon slayer goes anywhere alone until this threat is neutralized. As the group dispersed to their tasks, Erza noticed Naruto lingering beside Natsu's bed. You'll recover quickly, he told the fire dragon slayer. Your magic is stronger than you realize. Natsu grinned weakly. Strong enough to beat you in a fight? Naruto actually smiled. Let's just say I'm looking forward to finding out, someday. The simple exchange seemed to energize Natsu, who settled back with renewed determination. As they left the infirmary, Erza gave Naruto a questioning look. That was kind of you. He shrugged. Dragon slayers respond to challenges. Gives them something to focus on besides pain. You understand them well. I've studied dragon magic for years. Had to understand what I was dealing with. He didn't meet her eyes. Besides, the kid reminds me of someone I used to know. Too stubborn to stay down. Erza sensed there was more to that story but didn't press. The library is this way. The guild's library was impressively extensive, occupying an entire floor below the main hall. Levi McGarden, the guild's resident literary expert, greeted them enthusiastically. Erza. And you must be Naruto. The petite blue-haired mage extended a hand. I'm Levi. Master Makarov said you need information on dragon artifacts. Naruto shook her hand carefully. Dragon pearls specifically. And a detailed map of Fiori. Levi's eyes lit up. Dragon pearls. I've read about those. Crystallized dragon magic essence used as power sources for ancient spells. She was already moving among the shelves. We have several texts on draconic artifacts. And the maps are over here. Within minutes, she had assembled an impressive collection of materials, spreading them across a large table. Naruto immediately gravitated toward an ancient-looking tome bound in what appeared to be scales. This one, he said, carefully opening it. Where did you get this? Levi peered at the book. That was recovered during an expedition to the Dragon King ruins last year. Can you read it? The language is a form of ancient draconic that even my script magic has trouble translating. To her evident surprise, Naruto nodded, his fingers tracing the strange symbols. It's describing the creation process for dragon pearls. They require the essence of a living dragon or dragon slayer, crystallized through specific ritual magic. You can read ancient Draconic? Erza asked, impressed despite herself. Naruto glanced up, something like embarrassment crossing his features. It's instinctive. Part of the package. Levi looked fascinated. What else does it say? It mentions 7 original pearls, each containing the essence of a different elemental dragon. Fire, iron, sky, earth, water, lightning, and poison. Naruto frowned. But there's something else, a reference to an 8th pearl. A catalyst. What kind of catalyst? Erza asked. It's not specific. Just calls it, the void between stars, whatever that means. He set aside the book and pulled the map closer. Let me try something. Placing both hands on the map, Naruto closed his eyes. Blue markings spread across his arms, more extensive than before, creating intricate patterns that pulsed with inner light. The air around him seemed to distort, heavy with magical pressure. Apocalypse Dragon God Sight, he murmured. The blue energy flowed from his hands into the map itself, spreading like ink through water across the paper. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, small points of light began to appear, 7 distinct locations glowing with different colored light. There, Naruto said, opening his eyes. 7 dragon pearls. 3 are clustered together in this location. He pointed to a spot in the northern mountains. That's likely their base of operations. Erza studied the map intently. The other 4 are scattered, they must not have collected them all yet. Which means we have a chance to intercept them, Levi realized. Naruto nodded. The closest unclaimed pearl appears to be here, near the eastern coast. He tapped a glowing green point. Probably the poison dragon pearl, based on the energy signature. We should inform Master immediately, Erza decided. If we can secure even 1 pearl before they complete their collection, a tremendous explosion rocked the building, sending books tumbling from shelves. Dust rained from the ceiling as alarm bells began to ring throughout the guild. What now? Levi gasped. Erza was already moving toward the stairs. Stay here with the map. We'll check what's happening. Naruto followed close behind as they raced up to the main hall. The scene that greeted them was chaos. Part of the guild's roof had collapsed, and guild members were engaged in battle with robed figures, Dragon's Covenant mages. In the center of the hall stood Kenta, the scarred leader Erza had encountered on Mount Jacob. But he looked different now, red scales covered half his face, and his right arm had transformed into something distinctly draconic. There he is. Kenta roared when he spotted Naruto. The dragon god descendant. Naruto's eyes narrowed as blue markings instantly spread across his skin. You're looking different, Kenta. Partial dragonification isn't a good look on you. The Dark Guild leader laughed maniacally. Like it? Just a taste of what's coming. The dragon pearls work, you see. Each one I absorb brings me closer to true dragon god status. You're killing yourself, Naruto stated flatly. Human bodies aren't meant to contain multiple dragon magics. That's where you're wrong. Kenta's transformed arm pointed accusingly. You exist, don't you? Living proof that a human body can host dragon god magic. Around them, the battle raged. Fairy tale mages engaged the Dark Guild members with their usual ferocity, but Erza noticed something concerning. The Dragon's Covenant mages all displayed aspects of Dragon Slayer magic, using elemental dragon attacks with disturbing effectiveness. They'd been enhancing themselves with the pearls, she realized. Artificial dragon slayers, Naruto confirmed grimly. Unstable and dangerous. Kenta stepped forward, magical pressure building around him. We need the catalyst, Naruto. The final piece. And you're going to provide it, willingly or not. He thrust both hands forward, unleashing a devastating combination attack, dual-element dragon's destructive wave. Fire and earth merged into a molten tsunami that surged toward Naruto and Erza. Without hesitation, Erza equipped into her adamantine armor, deploying its massive shield. At the same time, Naruto stepped in front of her, one hand raised. Apocalypse Dragon's absolute dominion. The wave of molten earth stopped in mid-air, hovering as if frozen in time. Naruto made a dismissive gesture, and the attack simply dissolved, breaking down into particles of light that faded away. Kenta's eyes widened. The erasure magic. It's true. You have no idea what you're messing with, Naruto said, his voice eerily calm as blue markings covered more of his body. Dragon God magic isn't just power, it's authority over all dragon magic. With shocking speed, he crossed the distance between them, appearing directly in front of Kenta. The Dark Guild leader barely had time to blink before Naruto's fist connected with his chest, sending him crashing through multiple tables. Naruto! Erza called out, engaging two other Dark Guild members with her dual swords. Don't kill him. We need information. Naruto glanced back at her, and for a moment, his eyes were completely inhuman, glowing blue with slitted pupils. He nodded once before turning back to his opponent. Kenta struggled to his feet, blood trickling from his mouth. You think I came unprepared? He pulled a lacrima from his robes, a black crystal pulsing with malevolent energy. This is what we extracted from your fire dragon slayer friend. Not a full pearl yet, but enough for this. He crushed the crystal in his transformed hand, and red energy surged through his body. Scales spread further across his face as he roared in pain and exultation. Fire Dragon King's roar. The attack that erupted from his mouth wasn't just a dragon slayer's roar, it was larger, hotter, more concentrated. It struck Naruto directly, engulfing him in flames that melted the stone floor beneath him. Naruto! Erza cried out, fighting to reach him through the chaos. The flames continued for several seconds before abruptly vanishing. Not dissipating or burning out, simply ceasing to exist. Where Naruto had stood was now a perfect circle of untouched floor amid the destruction, and at its center, Naruto himself, completely unharmed. But he had changed. The blue markings now covered his entire body, forming a pattern of scales that gleamed with inner light. His eyes glowed the same blue, and the air around him seemed to bend and distort. You stole Natsu's magic, he said, his voice resonating with power. Then you tried to use Fire Dragon King magic against the son of the Apocalypse Dragon God. Bad move. Kenta took an involuntary step backward. What are you? I told you before, you have no idea what you're messing with. Naruto raised his hand, and blue energy gathered into a spiraling sphere unlike anything Erza had seen before. This is true Dragon God magic. Rasengan, Apocalypse Singularity. The spiraling sphere grew, dark at its core but radiant at its edges. Naruto moved with blinding speed, driving the attack toward Kenta. The Dark Guild leader raised both arms in desperate defense, his body transforming further into its draconic state. The impact when it came was strangely silent, no explosion, no shockwave. Just a perfect moment of stillness followed by Kenta being hurled backward through the guild wall and into the street beyond. Where the attack had connected with his draconic arm, there was nothing. The limb had been erased up to the elbow, not severed but simply gone, as if it had never existed. Kenta screamed, clutching the smooth stump where his arm had been. The remaining Dark Guild members, seeing their leader fall, began teleporting away, retreating from the battle. Naruto stood in the opening, the blue markings slowly receding from his skin as he regained control. Guild members approached cautiously, staring in awe and fear at the display of power they just witnessed. Erza reached him first. Naruto. Are you alright? He turned to her, his eyes gradually returning to normal. I'm fine. But they got what they came for. What do you mean? The map, he said grimly. It was a diversion. While we fought here, some of them went to the library. He looked past her to where Levi was being helped up the stairs. Looking dazed. They have the locations of all the dragon pearls now. Makarov approached, his expression grave. And something else, I fear. Levi reports they took a sample of your magic as well, from the residue you left on the map during your tracking spell. Naruto's face paled. The catalyst. They needed a sample of dragon god magic to serve as the catalyst for their artificial version. He looked at his hands, which trembled slightly. This is exactly what I was afraid of. My power being used to harm others. This isn't your fault, Erza said firmly. You used your magic to help us. And now they'll use it to destroy everything. Naruto's voice was quiet but intense. Dragon god magic in the hands of someone like Kenta, someone who doesn't understand its nature or how to control it. Then we stopped them, Erza stated, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. Before they can complete whatever ritual they're planning. Naruto looked around at the damaged guild hall, at the wounded fairy tale members helping each other, at Natsu who had somehow made it downstairs despite his condition and was now watching with unusual seriousness. Naruto repeated softly. You still want me to help after seeing what I can do? What my magic is capable of? Especially after seeing what you can do, Makarov said, stepping forward. You controlled that power. Used it to protect this guild. Naruto laughed without humor. I erased a man's arm from existence. You stopped him without killing him, Erza countered. That shows restraint few would have in your position. The guild members around them nodded in agreement. Naruto looked stunned by their acceptance. She's right, Natsu said, limping forward. That bastard stole my magic and you made him pay for it. Seems like justice to me. For a long moment, Naruto said nothing, his expression unreadable. Then, almost imperceptibly, something shifted in his posture, a decision made. They'll go for the remaining pearls first, he said, his voice taking on a determined edge. The closest is the poison dragon pearl near the eastern coast. If we move quickly, we might intercept them. Makarov nodded. Erza, assemble a team. You'll depart immediately. I'm coming too. Natsu declared. You're still recovering, Lucy protested. I'm fine. As if to prove his point, Natsu ignited his fists, only to wince as the flames flickered and died. Okay, maybe not completely fine. Stay here and recover your strength, Erza told him firmly. We'll need you at full power for what comes next. She turned to the others. Gray, Lucy, Wendy, you're with me and Naruto. We leave in 1 hour. As the guild mobilized for the mission, Erza found Naruto standing apart, staring at his hands. Having second thoughts, she asked quietly. He looked up, his blue eyes troubled. I came here to warn you about Dragon's Covenant, not to fight a war alongside you. Plans change. Enemies adapt. So must we. She placed a hand on his shoulder, noting how he tensed but didn't pull away. You've spent years running from what you are, Naruto. Maybe it's time to see what you can become instead. And if what I become is worse? Erza smiled slightly. Then I'll be there to knock some sense into you. I've been told I'm quite convincing with a sword. The joke, simple as it was, surprised a genuine laugh from him. I believe it. His expression sobered. One mission, then. To fix the mess I helped create. One mission, she agreed. For now. As they prepared for departure, neither acknowledged the unspoken possibility that hung between them, that one mission might become something more, and that the lone wolf from the mountains might find something in fairy tale worth staying for. Chapter 2, Bonds forged in fire. The train rattled eastward through the Fiori countryside, each rhythmic clack of wheels on tracks punctuating the tense silence inside the passenger car. Naruto stared out the window, watching the landscape blur past while absently tracing patterns on the foggy glass. Across from him, Erza sat straight-backed, occasionally glancing between her companions. Gray leaned against the window frame, shirt already discarded somewhere, while Lucy flipped through Levy's hastily prepared notes on dragon pearls. Beside her, Wendy focused on maintaining her Troya spell on herself. The only dragon slayer in their group, she'd learned the hard way about the motion sickness that plagued her kind. According to these notes, Lucy said, breaking the silence, the poison dragon pearl was last documented in the possession of the Eastern Church before it disappeared about 40 years ago. Eastern Church? Gray asked, eyebrow raised. Those religious nuts who worship ancient magic. Lucy nodded. They believe powerful magic artifacts contain fragments of divine essence. They've been collecting magical items for centuries. Naruto shifted his attention from the window. Makes sense they'd have a dragon pearl. But if it disappeared 40 years ago, how do we know it's still in the area? The tracking spell you performed, Erza reminded him. It showed the pearl near Harjin Port. My spell tracked dragon magic resonance, Naruto corrected. Could be the pearl itself, or someone who's already using its power. The implication hung heavy in the air. If Dragon's Covenant had already claimed the poison dragon pearl, they'd be facing another enhanced enemy like Kenta. We should prepare for either possibility, Erza decided. Lucy, does Levy mention anything about the poison dragon pearl's specific abilities? Lucy scanned the notes. Just that it contains essence of the poison dragon Theranox, known for toxins that could melt stone and corrupt magical energy itself. Great, Gray muttered. So we're possibly facing someone who can poison magic now. Wendy looked up, her face slightly pale from fighting off her motion sickness. I might be able to counter poison effects with my sky magic, at least partially. You focus on support and healing, Erza told her. The rest of us will handle the combat if necessary. She turned to Naruto. Can your dragon god magic sense these pearls from a distance? It would give us an advantage in locating it first. Naruto nodded. Within a few miles, yeah. Dragon god magic naturally resonates with other dragon magic sources. He hesitated. But using it creates a magical signature that Dragon's Covenant can track too. It's how they found me at the guild. So we're announcing our presence the moment we start searching, Gray summarized. Basically. Lucy closed her notes. Then we need to be quick. Find the pearl and secure it before they can mobilize against us. Agreed, Erza said. Once we reach Harjin, Naruto will perform a localized tracking. We move immediately after, no delays. The train lurched around a bend, making Wendy groan slightly despite her self-cast Troya spell. Naruto gave her a sympathetic look. Dragon Slayer motion sickness. I forget most people have to deal with that. Wendy blinked in surprise. You don't get motion sick. But if you have dragon magic. Different manifestation, he explained with a shrug. Dragon god magic affects me differently than Dragon Slayer magic affects you. The nausea comes from your dragon senses conflicting with human motion perception. My senses are. He paused, searching for the right words. Integrated differently. Because you were born with it, Lucy realized. You didn't learn dragon magic or have a lacrima implanted, it's naturally part of you. Something flickered across Naruto's face, discomfort, perhaps. Yeah. Lucky me. The conversation lapsed into silence again. Erza studied Naruto, noting how he'd retreated back into himself after that brief explanation. Every small revelation about his magic seemed to come with an equal measure of guardedness. She wondered what it must be like to carry such power from birth, a power connected to the most destructive dragon in history. As if sensing her thoughts, Naruto met her gaze. For a moment, something passed between them, an acknowledgement, perhaps, of the weight he carried. Then he looked away, back to the passing landscape. The rest of the journey passed with sporadic conversation, mostly Lucy and Wendy discussing strategy while Gray occasionally chimed in. Naruto remained largely silent, speaking only when directly addressed. Erza found herself more aware of his presence than she cared to admit, cataloging his subtle reactions, the way his fingers occasionally traced blue patterns on his arm when he thought no one was watching. By the time they reached Harjan Port, the afternoon sun hung low over the harbor. The seaside town bustled with its usual activity, fishermen unloading catches, merchants hawking wares, travelers coming and going from the busy port. "We should find somewhere private for the tracking spell," Erza suggested as they disembarked. "Too late," Naruto said quietly, his eyes focused on the town. "They're already here." "Dragon's Covenant?" Gray asked, instantly alert. Naruto nodded, blue light briefly flickering in his eyes. "I can sense dragon magic being used. Northeast part of town. And it's not just residual energy, someone's actively channeling poison dragon magic." "They beat us here," Lucy concluded grimly. "Then we move now," Erza decided. "No time for subtlety." They moved through the crowded streets, Naruto leading with unerring certainty. The northeast quarter of Harjan housed older buildings, warehouses and abandoned shipyards from when the port was smaller. As they approached, the normal sounds of the town faded, replaced by an eerie silence. "Something's wrong," Wendy whispered, her enhanced dragon senses picking up what the others couldn't. "The air, it smells wrong." Naruto nodded in agreement. "Poison magic. It's contaminating the surroundings." They turned a corner and stopped short. Before them stretched a scene of devastation, buildings partially melted, strange purple-green residue coating surfaces, and the ground itself warped and discolored. In the center of it all stood a single figure, a woman with pale green hair and scales creeping up her neck and across her cheeks. "Welcome, fairy tale," she called out, her voice carrying an unnatural echo. "And the dragon god descendant too. How convenient." Erza stepped forward, equipping a sword. "Identify yourself." The woman smiled, revealing pointed teeth. "Mira of Dragon's Covenant. Formerly just a poison mage, but now." She held up a glowing green orb pulsing with malevolent energy. "The vessel of Theranox's power. The poison dragon pearl." They were too late. "She's already absorbed some of its power," Naruto muttered, blue markings beginning to spread across his forearms. "This is going to get ugly." "Spread out," Erza commanded. "Gray, Lucy, wide perimeter. Wendy, stay back and support." "Naruto, I'll take point," he said, stepping forward. "Poison dragon magic is particularly nasty against humans, but dragon god magic gives me some resistance." Mira laughed, the sound grating like glass. "Resistance? Let's test that theory. Poison dragon's toxic wave." She swept her arm in a wide arc, sending a crescent of virulent green energy rushing toward them. The team scattered, Gray creating an ice shield that melted immediately upon contact with the poison magic. Naruto didn't dodge. Instead, he inhaled deeply, chest expanding. Apocalypse Dragon's Roar. The concentrated beam of blue energy met the poison wave head-on, not just stopping it but erasing it completely where they connected. The remainder of Mira's attack curved around, forcing the others to dodge again. "Impressive," Mira acknowledged, green scales spreading further across her face. "But can you handle this? Poison dragon's corroding mist." The air around them suddenly filled with noxious green vapor. Lucy covered her mouth, coughing violently, while Gray's hasty ice dome began dissolving almost immediately. "Wendy!" Erza called out. "Sky Dragon's Wave Wind." The young dragon slayer responded instantly, creating a powerful current of clean air that pushed back the poisonous mist. Naruto dashed forward through the momentary opening, blue energy swirling around his fist. Apocalypse Dragon's Havoc Fist. He struck with devastating force, but Mira twisted inhumanly fast, her body bending at impossible angles to evade. Where his fist passed, the air itself seemed to warp and distort. "Too slow," she taunted, green liquid dripping from her fingertips as she countered. "Poison Dragon's Melting Claw." Her strike caught Naruto's shoulder, the poison immediately eating through his clothing and attacking the skin beneath. He grimaced but didn't retreat, instead grabbing her wrist with his other hand. "Got you," he growled, blue markings spreading up his neck and face. Apocalypse Dragon's Dominion. The blue energy surged from his grip into Mira's body. Where it touched the green scales, they began to flake away like ash. Mira screamed, a sound of rage more than pain, and kicked Naruto back with inhuman strength. Ice Make, Cannon. Gray's attack came from the side, hitting Mira with a massive ice projectile that sent her crashing through a nearby wall. Erza was at Naruto's side immediately. "Your shoulder." "I'm fine," he insisted, though the wound looked anything but. The poison had created a horrific burn-like injury, eating away at the flesh. Yet even as they watched, blue energy pulsed beneath the wound, seemingly fighting against the corrosion. "Your magic is healing you," Erza realized. "Not healing. Rejecting the foreign magic." Naruto winced. "Still hurts like hell though." Before they could discuss it further, a blast of poison energy erupted from the rubble where Mira had fallen. She emerged, looking less human than before, her lower body now a serpentine tail of scales, her fingers elongated into wicked claws. "You think you can reject my poison? I'll show you real dragon power." She raised the pearl, which pulsed ominously. Poison Dragon's secret art, toxic devastation. The ground beneath them suddenly liquefied, turning into a bubbling pool of corrosive poison. Buildings began to melt, and the very air became painful to breathe. "Gray. Platforms." Erza commanded. "Ice Make, floor." The ice mage created a thick layer of ice beneath them, but it immediately began to dissolve at the edges. Wendy gasped for breath, her magic struggling against the overwhelming poison in the air. "I can't purify this much." Lucy had summoned Aquarius, who was fighting a losing battle against the encroaching toxins. "We need to stop her fast or the whole area will be contaminated." Naruto looked at the pearl in Mira's hand, his expression hardening with decision. "The pearl is amplifying her magic. We need to separate her from it." He turned to Erza. "I need a distraction." Erza nodded, immediately understanding. "Everyone. Convergence pattern. Alpha." It was a testament to Fairy Tail's teamwork that even with Naruto as an unknown factor, they reacted instantly. Gray sent ice lances from multiple directions, Lucy commanded Aquarius to direct a water cyclone, and Wendy focused her remaining strength into a sky dragon's roar. Erza herself equipped into her heaven's will armor, sending a barrage of swords raining down on Mira from above. "Dance, my blades." The combined assault forced Mira to defend on all sides, her poison magic splitting into multiple shields and counterattacks. For just a moment, her focus on the pearl wavered. That moment was all Naruto needed. Blue markings covered his entire body as he vanished in a blur of speed, reappearing directly in front of Mira. Apocalypse Dragon's binding seal. He slammed his palm against her chest, blue energy spreading like a web across her body. Where it touched, the scales receded, and her movements slowed. His other hand shot out, grasping for the pearl. Mira hissed in fury, poison erupting from her body in all directions. "You'll die first, Dragon God." The poison struck Naruto point blank, engulfing him completely. For a heartbeat, he disappeared from view within the toxic cloud. "Naruto!" Erza shouted, requipping instantly into her flight armor to rush forward. Then the poison cloud collapsed inward, as if being sucked into a vortex. At its center stood Naruto, one hand extended toward Mira, the other clutching the green poison dragon pearl. Blue energy radiated from his body in pulsing waves, and his eyes glowed with inner light. "Apocalypse Dragon God's authority," he said, his voice resonating strangely, "rejects your corruption." The pearl in his hand pulsed once with green light, then began to change, the poisonous energy visibly being drawn out of it and into Naruto's blue aura, where it simply dissolved into nothingness. Mira screamed as her stolen power began to fade, the scales receding, her transformed limbs returning to human form. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Impossible, you can't just erase dragon magic. Not erase, Naruto corrected, his voice returning to normal as the blue markings slowly receded. Dominate. All dragon magic answers to dragon god magic. It's hierarchy, not destruction. With the poison magic neutralized, Gray created ice restraints around the now human Mira. Wendy rushed forward, checking the woman for injuries while Lucy secured the area. Erza approached Naruto, who stared at the pearl in his hand with an unreadable expression. Are you all right? She asked. He nodded slowly. Dragon pearls are dangerous. They contain concentrated dragon essence without the stabilizing factors of a living vessel. Humans were never meant to absorb this kind of power directly. Like what happened to Mira, Erza observed, looking at the unconscious woman. The pearl was transforming her. And destroying her in the process. Naruto closed his fist around the pearl, which now glowed with a subdued light. These things need to be properly contained or destroyed. Can you destroy it? Naruto hesitated. Yes, but I'm not sure that's wise. Dragon's Covenant is still out there, and they have most of the other pearls. We may need this one to track them. Gray approached, hands in pockets. So what now? We've got the pearl and one of their members. Head back to the guild. We need to question her first, Erza decided. Find out what Dragon's Covenant plans to do with the pearls, where their base is located. There's an abandoned warehouse nearby that's still intact, Lucy suggested, rejoining them with Wendy. We can secure her there until she's ready to talk. Erza nodded. Good idea. Gray, Lucy, secure the location. Wendy, see to her medical needs, but be careful. Naruto and I will contact the guild and inform them of our progress. As the others moved to carry out their tasks, Erza noticed Naruto still staring at the pearl, a troubled expression on his face. What is it? She asked when they were alone. He looked up, conflict evident in his eyes. This thing, it's like holding a piece of a dragon's soul. It feels wrong somehow. You sense something from it? More than that. When I absorbed the poison magic, I felt echoes. Memories that weren't mine. Feelings. He shook his head. The dragon whose essence created this pearl, Theranox, it didn't give its power willingly. These pearls were created through violence. Erza watched him carefully. Does that happen often? Sensing memories through dragon magic? No, he admitted. It's never happened before. But I've never interacted directly with a dragon pearl either. She gestured to the pearl. May I? Naruto hesitated, then carefully placed it in her outstretched hand. The moment it touched her palm, Erza felt a strange sensation, like static electricity but deeper, resonating somewhere within her. Not painful, but definitely unsettling. It's vibrating, she observed. It's responding to your magic. Even regular magic has distant connections to elemental forces dragons once governed. Naruto watched her reaction closely. You're strong, Erza. Your magic container is exceptionally developed. She returned the pearl, curious about his assessment. How can you tell? Dragon God magic lets me sense magical energy in a different way. I don't just see how much power someone has, but how it's structured, how it flows. A faint smile touched his lips. Yours is like a well-forged blade, balanced, honed, precise. The unexpected compliment caught her off guard. Before she could respond, a communication lacrima in her pocket activated, glowing with incoming contact from the guild. Makarov's face appeared in the crystal. Erza, report. Mission partially successful, Master, she responded. We've secured the poison dragon pearl and captured one of Dragon's Covenant's enhanced members. She was already using the pearl's power, but Naruto neutralized it. Excellent news, Makarov said, though his expression remained grave. What's the status of your team? Minor injuries only. Wendy is tending to them now. Good. There have been developments here as well. Another attack on Fairy Tail, this time targeting our archives. They were looking for information on something called the Convergence. Naruto stepped into view of the Lacrima. The Convergence? Are you sure that's what they called it? Makarov nodded. You've heard of it. Old dragon legend. When multiple dragon magics are brought together at a place of power during a specific celestial alignment. Naruto's expression darkened. It's said to amplify dragon magic exponentially. That aligns with what we've discovered, Makarov confirmed. According to our research, this convergence is due to occur in 3 days' time. If Dragon's Covenant plans to use the Dragon Pearls during this event, it would be catastrophic, Naruto finished. Especially if they're trying to create artificial dragon god magic. Erza frowned. 3 days doesn't give us much time to locate and secure the remaining pearls. Agreed. Which is why I'm altering your mission parameters. Makarov's image flickered slightly in the crystal. Once you've extracted what information you can from your prisoner, proceed directly to the convergence site. We've identified it as the ancient dragon temple in the northern range. The same location where the tracking spell showed 3 pearls clustered together, Erza realized. Precisely. The rest of Fairy Tail will handle the scattered pearls. Your team's priority is to prevent whatever ritual Dragon's Covenant is planning at the convergence site. Naruto looked troubled. If they've gathered 3 pearls in one location, they'll have enhanced members guarding it. This won't be easy. Which is why we're sending reinforcements, Makarov replied. Natsu has recovered faster than expected, likely due to whatever you did to stabilize his magic, Naruto. He and Gajeel will join you tomorrow at the Eastern train station. Erza nodded decisively. Understood, Master. We'll proceed as directed. After the communication ended, they made their way to the warehouse where the others had secured Mira. The building was dilapidated but structurally sound, its interior cleared of debris to create a makeshift interrogation space. Gray had created an ice cell reinforced with magic-suppressing runes Lucy had learned from Freed. Inside, Mira sat slumped against the wall, looking pale and disoriented. Wendy knelt beside her, monitoring her condition. How is she? Erza asked. Stable, but weak, Wendy reported. The rapid transformation and subsequent reversal put tremendous strain on her body. She's suffering from magical exhaustion and cellular damage. Will she recover? Eventually. But she won't be using magic anytime soon. Naruto studied the prisoner through the ice bars. The pearl's influence is still fading from her system. It'll take time for her body to purge all traces of the dragon essence. Is she coherent enough to answer questions? Erza asked. Wendy nodded hesitantly. I believe so, but I wouldn't push too hard. Erza approached the cell, Naruto following closely. Mira looked up as they neared, her eyes still tinged with unnatural green. Come to finish me off, she asked, voice raspy. We're not in the habit of executing prisoners, Erza replied coolly. We need information about Dragon's Covenant's plans for the convergence. Mira's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed with a bitter laugh. So you know about that. Doesn't matter. You're too late to stop it. The ritual requires all 7 dragon pearls, Naruto said, holding up the poison pearl. You're missing at least one now. You think Kenta doesn't have contingencies? Mira shook her head weakly. The ritual will proceed. The convergence amplifies all dragon magic. Even with 6 pearls, it'll be enough. Enough for what? Erza pressed. What exactly is Dragon's Covenant trying to achieve? Mira's gaze shifted to Naruto. Ask him. He knows what it means to be rejected by the world for the magic you possess. Artificial dragon slayers like us, treated as inferior, dangerous. But when Kenta completes the ritual, we'll all have true dragon god magic. No more second-class citizens. You'll all be dead, Naruto countered flatly. Human bodies can't contain multiple types of dragon essence without a proper vessel. The transformations you've experienced are just the beginning. Eventually, the conflicting magical energies will tear you apart at a cellular level. Kenta has solved that problem. Mira smiled, revealing teeth still slightly pointed. The catalyst you provided. Dragon god magic can stabilize the transformation. Naruto tensed. What catalyst? Your magical signature, Dragon God. From the tracking spell you performed at Fairy Tail. Her smile widened. Kenta has been studying your magic for years, gathering samples from the mountains where you lived. The final piece from your tracking spell completed his research. Naruto's expression darkened as blue markings briefly flickered across his skin. He can't replicate dragon god magic from residual samples. It's not just energy, it's blood inheritance. Maybe not replicate, Mira conceded. But he can create something similar enough. A placeholder that will allow our bodies to accept multiple dragon essences without rejection. Erza exchanged a concerned glance with Naruto. And this ritual at the convergence, that's when he'll attempt this transformation? Mira nodded weakly, eyelids drooping as exhaustion overtook her. When the celestial alignment peaks, all artificial dragon slayers will ascend. Her voice trailed off as she slipped into unconsciousness. Wendy rushed forward to check her vitals. She's just sleeping. The interrogation depleted what little energy she had left. They stepped away from the cell, gathering to discuss what they'd learned. If what she said is true, Lucy began, Dragon's Covenant is planning to use the convergence to transform all their members into something like you, Naruto. Not like me, he corrected grimly. What they're attempting is fundamentally different. Dragon god magic is inherited, integrated with every cell from birth. What they're doing is forcing multiple dragon magics into bodies not designed to contain even one properly. But they believe they've found a way to stabilize it using samples of your magic, Gray pointed out. Naruto ran a hand through his hair in frustration. It won't work. At best, they'll create unstable magical abominations. At worst. He trailed off, looking at the pearl in his hand. At worst? Erza prompted. At worst, they'll create a magical cascade failure. All that dragon essence released at once during the convergence could trigger something like a magical nuclear reaction. It wouldn't just kill them, it could devastate the entire region. A heavy silence fell over the group as they processed the implications. Then we definitely need to stop this ritual, Lucy said finally. How do we proceed? Erza took charge. Wendy, stay with the prisoner and monitor her condition. Gray, Lucy, secure the perimeter and prepare for our departure at first light. Natsu and Gajeel will meet us at the eastern station tomorrow morning. What about the pearl? Gray asked, nodding toward the artifact in Naruto's hand. I'll secure it, Naruto said. It's safer if I keep it contained. The group dispersed to their tasks, leaving Erza and Naruto momentarily alone. You're worried, she observed quietly. He met her gaze directly. Aren't you? These people are messing with forces they don't understand, using corrupted versions of my magic as a catalyst. It's like watching someone build a bomb out of parts they think are just pretty decorations. We'll stop them, Erza said with quiet confidence. And if this magical cascade failure begins, we'll deal with that too. Naruto stared at her. How can you be so certain? You've seen what my power can do on a small scale. Imagine that multiplied by 7 different dragon essences, all destabilizing at once. Because I've faced impossible odds before, she replied simply. Fairy Tail specializes in making the impossible possible. Something in her tone must have reached him, because his expression softened slightly. You really believe that, don't you? I do. She hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering her since their conversation with Mira. This connection you felt to the pearl, the memories that weren't yours. Could it help us understand what we're facing? Naruto looked down at the pearl, conflict evident in his expression. Maybe. But accessing those memories would require deeper immersion in the pearl's essence. It's risky. For you or for everyone? Both. The more I interact with other dragon magics, the more active my own becomes. He met her eyes. Remember when I told you combat gives my power direction? This is the opposite, it's opening myself to influences that could make control harder. Erza considered this. But if it provides information that helps prevent catastrophe? Always the strategist, he said, with the ghost of a smile. All right. But not here. I need space, away from the others, in case something goes wrong. I'm coming with you, she stated, brooking no argument. He looked like he wanted to refuse but eventually nodded. Fine. But promise me something, Erza. His expression turned deadly serious. If I lose control, if the dragon god magic takes over, don't hesitate. Stop me by any means necessary. The request hung between them, heavy with implication. Erza understood what he was asking, to become his executioner if necessary. The fact that he trusted her enough to ask spoke volumes. I promise, she said solemnly. But it won't come to that. They found a secluded area near the harbor, an abandoned lighthouse overlooking the sea. The moon hung full in the sky, casting silver light across the waves and illuminating the weathered structure with ghostly radiance. This should work, Naruto said, surveying the isolated location. Far enough from town that if things go sideways, collateral damage will be minimal. Erza leaned against the lighthouse wall, arms crossed. You're very concerned about collateral damage. Experience, he replied simply, rolling his shoulders to release tension. 7 years ago, I wasn't as controlled as I am now. What happened? She asked quietly. Naruto was silent for a long moment, staring out at the moonlit sea. I was traveling with someone. A mentor of sorts. We were attacked by a dark guild who'd heard rumors about my magic. They thought capturing me would give them power. His voice grew distant. They were wrong. You defended yourself, Erza said, not a question. I lost control, he corrected. The dragon god magic responded to the threat before I could direct it. By the time I regained awareness, there was nothing left. Not the attackers, not the forest we were in, not my mentor. The admission hung in the night air, raw and painful. That's why you isolated yourself, Erza realized. Not just to protect others, but to punish yourself. Naruto's laugh held no humor. Perceptive. But it was practical too. I needed time to understand this power, to learn control without risking more lives. And did you learn control? He flexed his hand, blue markings briefly illuminating his skin. Mostly. Combat is easiest, the power has clear purpose then. Defensive situations too. It's when emotions get involved that things get complicated. Erza stepped closer. You're not the only one who struggled with destructive power, you know. He looked at her curiously. Your equipped magic doesn't seem particularly unstable. Now, no. But there was a time. She paused, memories surfacing that she rarely shared. I was a slave in a cult that forced children to build a magical tower. When I finally escaped, my magic was wild, triggered by trauma and rage. I destroyed everything around me without meaning to. Naruto's expression softened with understanding. How did you learn control? Fairy tale, she said simply. Master Makarov taught me that magic flows from emotion, but isn't controlled by it. That separating the source from the direction was key. Source from direction, Naruto repeated thoughtfully. That's, actually a good way to think about it. Erza nodded toward the pearl in his hand. So, how do we do this? Refocusing, Naruto sat cross-legged on the lighthouse floor, placing the poison dragon pearl before him. I need to establish direct magical contact with the essence inside. My dragon god magic should allow me to access the memories without absorbing the poison aspect. And my role? Watch me. If the blue markings spread past my neck to my face, that's the first warning sign. If my eyes change color completely, that's the second. If I start speaking in a language you don't understand. He met her gaze steadily. That's when you intervene. Erza nodded, hand resting on her sword hilt. Understood. Naruto took a deep breath, then placed both hands on the pearl. Immediately, blue markings spread across his arms, pulsing with internal light. The pearl responded, its green glow intensifying where it touched his skin. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen beyond the pulsing interaction of energies. Then Naruto's expression changed, eyes widening, breath catching. The markings spread faster, reaching his shoulders and climbing his neck. Naruto. Erza called, stepping forward in concern. I see it, he whispered, voice strained. The dragon Theranox, captured by humans, its essence extracted while still alive. The pearl's glow intensified, bathing the lighthouse interior in eerie green light that contrasted with the blue patterns now covering most of Naruto's upper body. The ritual, he continued, eyes unfocused. 7 mages, 7 different dragon essences, channeled through a central vessel. The markings reached his jawline, the first warning threshold. Erza drew her sword quietly, ready to intervene. The vessel couldn't contain it, the magic erupted, destroyed everything. Naruto's voice had changed slightly, gaining a resonant quality. But Kenta found something in the ruins, records of an earlier attempt, one that succeeded. The blue markings touched his cheeks, creeping toward his eyes. His pupils dilated, the blue of his irises beginning to glow. A human vessel with dragon blood could stabilize the convergence, channel all 7 essences without destruction. His voice altered further, deeper and less human. Acnologia wasn't the first dragon god, he was the result of a convergence ritual. Erza moved closer, alarm growing as the second threshold approached. Naruto, that's enough. Pull back now. He didn't seem to hear her, lost in the visions from the pearl. Kenta doesn't want artificial dragon god magic, he wants to become like Acnologia, a true dragon in human form. His eyes glowed fully blue now, the second warning sign. The pearl in his hands pulsed erratically, cracks appearing in its surface as green and blue energies battled for dominance. The ritual requires sacrifice, dragon essence released at the moment of convergence, and a vessel of dragon blood to contain it. His voice had become completely inhuman now, reverberating with multiple tones. They need me. Not just my magic. Me. Naruto. Erza placed her sword against his neck, the cold steel making contact with his skin. Come back now. For a terrible moment, he remained unresponsive, lost in whatever visions the pearl was showing him. Then, with visible effort, he released the pearl and fell backward, gasping for breath. The blue markings receded rapidly, and his eyes returned to normal. The pearl rolled away, its green glow fading to a dull pulse. Naruto lay on the lighthouse floor, breathing heavily, sweat beading his forehead. That was. He gasped, more intense than I expected. Erza knelt beside him, sword sheathed now that the danger had passed. Are you all right? He nodded weakly. I understand their plan now. It's worse than we thought. You said they need you, not just your magic. What did you mean? Naruto pushed himself to a sitting position, still looking shaken. The convergence ritual Kenta found doesn't create dragon god magic, it creates a dragon god. A human vessel with dragon blood who absorbs multiple dragon essences to ascend beyond dragon slayer status. Like what happened to Acnologia, Erza realized. Exactly. But Acnologia went mad in the process. The ritual worked physically but destroyed his mind. Naruto ran a hand through his hair. Kenta thinks he's found a way to prevent that, using my blood as a stabilizing agent. Your blood. Not just your magic. My blood is my magic. That's what it means to be of Dragon God lineage. He looked at her directly. They don't just want to capture me for my power, they want to sacrifice me to fuel their ritual. Erza processed this grim revelation. And if they succeed? If they succeed, Kenta becomes a new Acnologia, a dragon god with all 7 elemental aspects under his control. Naruto's expression darkened. And if he fails, the magical backlash will still devastate half of Fiori. Then we don't let them succeed, Erza stated firmly. We stop the ritual before it begins. Naruto stared at her with something like wonder. How do you do that? Face impossible odds with such certainty. A small smile touched her lips. Practice. And good companions. She stood, extending a hand to help him up. Speaking of which, we should get back to the others. Dawn approaches, and we have a long journey ahead. He accepted her hand, rising to his feet. For a moment, they stood closer than necessary, hands still connected. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition, perhaps, of shared burdens and understanding. Thank you, he said quietly. For being willing to stop me if necessary. And for not having to. Erza nodded, releasing his hand with curious reluctance. We should get moving. As they left the lighthouse, the poison dragon pearl secured once more, neither mentioned the moment of connection. But something had shifted between them, a bond forged in shared vulnerability and trust. The eastern train station buzzed with early morning activity as merchants, travelers, and workers moved about their business. Amid the crowd, Erza's team waited on a secluded platform, their presence drawing curious glances from passers-by. Lucy yawned, still tired from standing watch part of the night. What time did Natsu and Gajeel say they'd arrive? The 8:15 train, Erza replied, checking a pocket watch. Which should be here any minute. Gray leaned against a pillar, once again shirtless without realizing it. Hard to believe Flamebrain recovered so quickly. He was barely conscious yesterday morning. Natsu has always had remarkable healing abilities, Wendy noted. And Naruto's intervention seemed to accelerate the process significantly. All eyes turned to Naruto, who stood slightly apart from the group, the poison dragon pearl secured in a special containment bag Erza had provided. Dragon Slayer magic responds to Dragon God magic, he explained simply. It recognizes the hierarchy. Before anyone could question him further, the distant whistle of an approaching train caught their attention. Moments later, the locomotive pulled into the station, belching steam and screeching to a halt. Passengers began disembarking, and soon a familiar pink-haired figure stumbled onto the platform, face green with motion sickness. Land, Natsu groaned, collapsing dramatically. Sweet, solid land. Behind him, Gajeel emerged looking equally queasy, though making a valiant effort to hide it. Shut up, salamander. You're embarrassing dragon slayers everywhere. Happy fluttered out after them. They were like this the whole way. It was so funny. Erza strode forward. Natsu, Gajeel. Good to see you both recovered. Natsu bounced back with his usual resilience once the train stopped moving. Ready for action. Where are the bad guys? His gaze landed on Naruto, and he grinned widely. Hey, dragon guy. Thanks for fixing my magic. It feels awesome now. To demonstrate, he ignited his fists with flames that burned brighter and hotter than before. Naruto raised an eyebrow, genuinely impressed by the display. Interesting. Your magic has adapted to the resonance effect. It's stronger now. Gajeel approached more cautiously, red eyes studying Naruto with undisguised curiosity. So you're the one with the fancy dragon powers. Gihi, you don't look so special to me. Appearances can be deceiving, Naruto replied mildly. Iron Dragon Slayer, right? I can sense the metal in your magic signature. Got that right. Gajeel grinned, showing pointed teeth. So what's this mission about? Makarov just said something about stopping a dark guild from doing some dragon ritual. Erza quickly brought the newcomers up to speed, explaining what they'd learned about Dragon's Covenant's plans for the convergence. Natsu's expression grew increasingly serious, unusual for him, while Gajeel whistled low at the implications. So these creeps want to become like Acnologia, Natsu summarized, fists clenching. The dragon who killed Igneel. And they need Dragon Boy here as their sacrificial lamb, Gajeel added, jerking a thumb toward Naruto. Essentially, yes, Erza confirmed. Which is why we need to stop the ritual before it begins. Our train to the northern range leaves in 20 minutes. Natsu and Gajeel both groaned at the mention of more transportation, but didn't argue. As they waited for their connection, Natsu approached Naruto with uncharacteristic seriousness. Hey, can I ask you something? About your dragon magic? Naruto looked surprised but nodded. Sure. You said you're connected to Acnologia somehow. Like, by blood. Natsu's expression was unusually solemn. Does that mean you know stuff about him? About why he attacked the dragons? The question hung in the air, weighted with personal significance. Naruto considered his answer carefully. I have impressions. Not memories exactly, but inherited knowledge. He stared into the distance. Acnologia wasn't born a dragon. He was human once, a dragon slayer during the civil war between dragons who supported humans and those who wanted to destroy them. The Dragon King Festival, Natsu said, nodding. Igneel told me about it. The conflict changed him. Each dragon he slew, he absorbed a portion of their power. Eventually, the accumulation of different dragon magics transformed him physically and mentally. Naruto's voice grew quieter. He became what he hated most, a dragon consumed by destructive instinct. And you have his power, Natsu stated, not accusingly but with certainty. A version of it. More controlled, more human. Naruto met Natsu's gaze directly. I'm not him, Natsu. I fight that aspect of the power every day. Natsu studied him intently, then broke into a grin. Yeah, I can tell. You're nothing like that monster. You helped me when you didn't have to. That's good enough for me. The simple acceptance seemed to catch Naruto off guard. Before he could respond, the announcement for their train echoed through the station. As they boarded, Erza arranged the seating strategically, Wendy between Natsu and Gajeel to cast her Troya spell on them, Lucy and Gray across from them, with herself and Naruto in the seats behind. Once the train lurched into motion, Natsu and Gajeel immediately began suffering despite Wendy's magic, which seemed less effective than usual. Sorry, she apologized, looking tired. My magic is still recovering from yesterday's battle. Just focus on yourself for now, Erza instructed her. You'll need your strength later. As the countryside began rolling past the windows, Erza noticed Naruto staring intently at the poison dragon pearl in its containment bag. Still troubled by what you saw in the visions? She asked quietly. He nodded. There's something I didn't mention last night. Something that didn't make sense until I had time to process it. What is it? The ritual Kenta found, the one that created Acnologia, it wasn't an accident or discovery. It was designed specifically to create a dragon god. His voice lowered further. Someone engineered the process deliberately, centuries ago. Erza frowned. Who would create such a dangerous ritual? That's what doesn't make sense. The memories from the pearl showed glimpses of the original ritual creators. They weren't human, but they weren't dragons either. Naruto looked genuinely perplexed. They were something else. Something older. Could they still exist? Be involved with Dragon's Covenant somehow? I don't know. But it adds another layer of concern to what we're facing. His expression darkened. If Kenta has access to knowledge from these beings, whatever they were, he may be more prepared than we realized. The conversation lapsed into thoughtful silence as the train continued northward. The landscape gradually changed from lush forests to more rugged terrain as they approached the northern mountain range. By mid-afternoon, snow-capped peaks became visible on the horizon. "We'll reach the last station by early evening," Erza noted, reviewing a map. "From there, it's a half-day journey on foot to the ancient temple where the convergence will occur. Giving us approximately 1 day to prepare before the celestial alignment," Lucy added, joining their conversation from the seat ahead. Gray turned around as well. "So what's the plan when we get there?" "Storm the place. Reconnaissance first," Erza decided. "We need to understand what we're facing, how many enhanced members they have, what defenses are in place, and the exact nature of the ritual preparations." "And the pearl?" Lucy asked, glancing at the containment bag. "Do we use it somehow?" Naruto shook his head. "Better to keep it secured. If we bring it too close to the other pearls during the convergence, it might activate sympathetically, even without the ritual. So we're down to stopping them the old-fashioned way," Gray concluded with a hint of satisfaction. "Finding them and beating them up." "Essentially, yes," Erza agreed. "Though with appropriate strategy and caution. These aren't ordinary opponents." The discussion continued, laying out preliminary tactics and contingencies. Throughout, Erza noticed Naruto becoming increasingly engaged, offering insights, suggesting approaches based on what he knew of dragon magic vulnerabilities. The man who had been so reluctant to involve himself was now fully committed to their mission. By the time the train pulled into Northridge Station, the last stop before the wilderness of the northern range, a comprehensive plan had taken shape. The team disembarked into the chill mountain air, the sun already setting behind towering peaks. "We'll need supplies for the mountain journey," Erza announced. "And a place to rest tonight. We begin our ascent at first light." Northridge was a small frontier town catering to mountaineers and the occasional magic researcher drawn to the ancient ruins scattered throughout the range. They found accommodations at the Frost Giant, a rustic inn with surprisingly comfortable rooms and a well-stocked tavern. After securing their lodgings and gathering necessary supplies, the team gathered in a private dining room for a final strategy session over dinner. Maps were spread across the table, weighted down with mugs and plates as they finalized their approach. "The temple sits here," Erza indicated, pointing to a location nestled between 3 peaks. According to local information, it was a center of dragon worship centuries ago, built at a junction of natural magical ley lines. "Perfect spot for a ritual involving dragon magic," Lucy noted. "The terrain gives us both advantages and challenges," Gray observed, studying the topography. "Multiple approach routes, but also limited cover in the higher elevations." Natsu, recovered from his motion sickness and now devouring everything in sight, pointed to a ravine near the temple. "We could come in through there." "They'd never expect it." "Because it's a sheer drop, flame brain," Gajeel retorted. "Unless you've grown wings recently." "We could take Happy." Natsu protested. "One cat carrying one dragon slayer doesn't solve the problem for the rest of us," Gray pointed out. As the discussion continued, Naruto remained unusually quiet, staring at something beyond the maps. Erza noticed his distraction. "Naruto? Your thoughts?" He blinked, refocusing. "Sorry. I was just sensing something." "Dragon magic?" Wendy asked, her own enhanced senses picking up nothing unusual. "Not exactly. More like." He frowned, struggling to articulate what he felt. "Like an echo. Resonance from the temple, even at this distance." That caught everyone's attention. Gajeel leaned forward. "You can sense the temple from here." "How far is it?" "About 30 miles as the crow flies," Erza answered. "Through difficult mountain terrain." "That's well beyond normal magical sensing range," Lucy said, looking concerned. "Even for dragon slayers." Naruto nodded grimly. It's not normal sensing. The dragon god magic is responding to something there. Something familiar. His expression darkened. I think part of Acnologia's power might be there already. A tense silence fell over the group. You think they have some kind of artifact containing his magic? Gray asked finally. Or remains, Naruto suggested. Bone, scale, blood, anything from a dragon god would hold immense magical potential. This complicates things, Erza stated, recalculating their approach. If they already have access to dragon god essence, the ritual may be more advanced than we anticipated. All the more reason to move quickly, Natsu declared, punching his fist into his palm. We should leave now, not wait for morning. The mountain paths are treacherous in darkness, Erza countered. We'd risk injury before even reaching our target. Besides, Naruto added, the convergence won't reach its peak until tomorrow evening. We have time to approach carefully. The discussion continued late into the night, plans refined and contingencies established. Eventually, they dispersed to their rooms for a few hours of rest before their pre-dawn departure. Erza found herself sharing a room with Lucy and Wendy, while the male members of their team took adjacent accommodations. As she prepared for bed, Lucy approached her with a knowing look. So, the celestial mage began casually, you and Naruto seem to have developed quite an understanding. Erza paused in polishing her favorite sword. He's a valuable ally with unique knowledge of our enemy. Lucy hummed skeptically. And the way you two keep having intense conversations in corners. The way you watch him when you think no one's looking. Tactical discussions, Erza replied, perhaps too quickly. And I observe all team members to assess their condition. Sure, Lucy grinned. And I suppose you tactically discuss with everyone in moonlit lighthouses too. Erza's head snapped up. How did you? Happy followed you, Wendy admitted from her bed. He was worried when you both disappeared. That cat, Erza muttered, making a mental note to have words with the Exceed later. Lucy sat beside her. It's okay to admit you're drawn to him, Erza. We all notice how different you are around him, more open, somehow. I simply understand his situation, Erza deflected. The burden of power, the fear of hurting others, these are things I've experienced too. And that understanding has created a connection, Wendy observed softly. It's nice to see, actually. Erza sighed, setting down her sword. Whatever connection exists is complicated by our circumstances. He's been alone for 7 years, carrying the weight of destructive magic. I'm a fairy tale wizard committed to my guild. After this mission ends, those things will still be true, Lucy pointed out. But maybe neither of you has to face them alone anymore. The simple observation gave Erza pause. She'd been so focused on the immediate mission that she hadn't allowed herself to consider what might come after. The thought of Naruto simply returning to his mountain solitude after everything they'd shared felt wrong somehow. Let's focus on surviving the mission first, she said finally. Then we can worry about what comes next. Lucy nodded, respecting her friend's desire to change the subject. Fair enough. But for what it's worth, I think you've been good for him. He's different than when you first brought him to the guild, less guarded, more present. We've all seen it, Wendy agreed. Even Natsu mentioned it. Natsu noticed? Erza asked, genuinely surprised. He said Naruto smells less sad now, Wendy reported with a small smile. Dragon Slayer senses pick up on emotional states sometimes. Erza absorbed this information silently, uncertain how to respond. The idea that she'd somehow helped ease Naruto's burden, even slightly, filled her with unexpected warmth. We should rest, she said finally. Tomorrow will test all of us. As she lay in bed later, sleep proving elusive, Erza found her thoughts returning to Naruto. The isolation he'd imposed on himself, the control he'd developed through years of solitary discipline, the moment of connection they'd shared at the lighthouse, and the possibility that after tomorrow, he might vanish back into seclusion. The thought bothered her more than she cared to admit. Dawn broke cold and clear over the northern mountains. The team assembled outside the inn, breath fogging in the chill air as they made final preparations for the journey ahead. Naruto stood slightly apart, eyes closed and face tilted toward the distant peaks. The blue markings on his forearms pulsed gently, responding to whatever he sensed beyond the horizon. "It's stronger this morning," he said as Erza approached. "The resonance from the temple. Can you tell what they're doing?" He shook his head. "Just that dragon magic is being gathered, concentrated. The process has already begun, even though the convergence peak is still hours away." Erza studied the mountains thoughtfully. "Will it affect your magic? Being closer to whatever's causing this resonance?" "It might," he admitted. "Dragon god magic responds to other dragon magic. As we get closer, maintaining control could become challenging. Then we'll adapt," she said simply. "Just like we've planned for other contingencies." He looked at her with something like wonder. "Your confidence is remarkable." "Not confidence," she corrected. "Faith. In my team, in our preparation, and in you." Before he could respond to that unexpected declaration, Natsu bounded over, energy high despite the early hour. "Let's go already. I'm all fired up." With that enthusiastic prompting, their journey began. They followed a narrow trail that wound steadily upward into the mountains, Erza taking point with Naruto close behind. The dragon slayers formed the middle of their formation, with Gray and Lucy bringing up the rear. The path grew increasingly difficult as they ascended, narrower, steeper, occasionally blocked by fallen rock or ice that required careful navigation. Despite the challenges, they maintained good progress, driven by the urgency of their mission. By mid-morning, they had climbed high enough to see the broader landscape unfold below them. Forests gave way to snow-covered slopes, and in the distance, nestled between three jagged peaks, a structure became visible, the ancient dragon temple. They paused on a plateau to catch their breath and reassess. Even from miles away, the temple exuded an aura of primordial power, its weathered stone somehow both natural and alien against the mountain backdrop. "I can feel it now too," Wendy said quietly, her enhanced dragon senses picking up what normal mages couldn't. "Dragon magic. So much of it." Gajeel nodded, expression uncharacteristically serious. "Yeah. Makes my scales itch." Natsu stared at the distant temple, nostrils flaring. "Smells like mixing magics. Different dragon types all jumbled together." Naruto's expression had grown increasingly tense as they approached. The blue markings now covered most of his visible skin, pulsing in rhythm with whatever energies emanated from the temple. "They've activated at least 3 of the pearls already," he said, voice tight with control. "Fire, iron, and sky from what I can sense." "That matches what the tracking spell showed," Lucy noted. 3 pearls clustered at this location. "What about the others?" Gray asked. "Earth, water, and lightning. Can't tell yet. They might be in transit, or shielded somehow." Naruto closed his eyes briefly, focusing. "But something else is there too. Something that feels like me." Erza stepped closer to him. "The Acnologia essence you mentioned?" He nodded grimly. "Definitely. And it's responding to my presence, calling to the dragon god magic in my blood." His fists clenched as blue energy flickered around them. "It's going to get harder to maintain control the closer we get." "Then we adjust our approach," Erza decided. "Naruto, you'll hang back with Lucy and Wendy. The rest of us will conduct the initial reconnaissance." "No," he countered immediately. "That's exactly what they want, to separate me from the group. The resonance I'm feeling, it's not just my magic responding to theirs. It's a beacon, a lure. A trap," Gray concluded. "Precisely. They know I'll sense it. They're counting on it drawing me to them." Natsu grinned fiercely. "So we give them what they want." But with a fairy tale twist. Erza nodded slowly, understanding forming. We let them think their trap is working, but we control the terms of engagement. How exactly do we do that? Lucy asked, understandably concerned. We split up, Erza explained, but not how they expect. Natsu, Gajeel, you'll approach from the east, making enough noise to draw attention. Gray, Lucy, Wendy, circle around to the western approach and stand ready. Naruto and I will take the most direct route from the south. Putting yourself and Dragon Boy right in their crosshairs, Gajeel observed with a raised eyebrow. Gutsy. It's the logical approach, Erza stated matter-of-factly. I can provide the most effective defense if Naruto's control becomes compromised, and he's the only one who can neutralize the pearls directly. No one argued with her assessment, though Lucy and Wendy exchanged knowing glances that Erza pretended not to notice. We'll maintain communication via lacrima, she continued, distributing small communication crystals. Once we have visual confirmation of the temple's defenses and the ritual status, we coordinate our attack. With the plan established, the team separated at the next junction of mountain paths. Natsu and Gajeel headed east with Happy, already bickering about who would take down more enemies. Gray's group disappeared along a narrow western trail, leaving Erza and Naruto to continue along the main southern approach. As they walked in silence, Erza noticed Naruto's increasing tension, the blue markings pulsing more vibrantly, his movements becoming more measured, as if each step required conscious control. How bad is it? She asked directly. Manageable, he replied, then amended with honesty, for now. But the pull is getting stronger. The dragon god magic wants to respond to whatever they're using as a lure. Can you describe what you're feeling? It might help us understand what we're facing. Naruto was quiet for several steps, organizing his thoughts. Imagine hearing your name called from a great distance. Not with your ears, but with your blood. Every cell recognizing the sound and wanting to answer. Recognition at a fundamental level, Erza translated. Exactly. Whatever they have, some remnant of Acnologia's power, it recognizes the dragon god magic in me as kin, as the same fundamental essence. His expression darkened. That's what makes it dangerous. The more I resist responding, the more insistent the call becomes. And if you were to answer this call? What would happen? Best case. My dragon god magic would flare uncontrollably, revealing our position and possibly injuring anyone nearby. He met her eyes directly. Worst case. Full dragon force activation, potentially triggering a premature response from their ritual components. Erza nodded, appreciating his candor. Then we work with it rather than against it. When we're in position and the others are ready, we'll use your magic's response as part of our initial strike. Naruto looked at her with surprise. You want me to deliberately release control? In a controlled context, yes. Channel the reaction rather than suppress it. He considered this approach, tension easing slightly. That might actually work. Direction instead of suppression. Like you mentioned from your own experience. Exactly. She offered a small smile. Sometimes the path of most resistance isn't the wisest choice. They continued upward, the temple growing larger as they approached. From their closer vantage point, details became visible, massive stone columns carved with dragon imagery, a central pyramid-like structure, and what appeared to be a ritual circle at its peak. Figures moved about the complex, too distant to identify clearly. Erza activated her communication lacrima. All teams, we have visual on the temple. Confirming activity at the central structure. We see it too, Gray's voice responded. Counting at least 20 figures, probably guards. More inside, I'm guessing. Lots of weird magic happening, Natsu's voice added excitedly. These guys are definitely up to something big. Erza and Naruto found a sheltered observation point behind a cluster of boulders about half a mile from the temple entrance. From here, they could see the southern approach, a long stone stairway leading to a massive gateway adorned with dragon statues. Guards at the entrance, Erza noted, counting 8 robed figures. And look there, the ones with colored markings on their robes. 3 with distinct patterns. Enhanced by the pearls, Naruto confirmed grimly. Red for fire, metallic gray for iron, and white for sky. They've definitely activated those 3. Erza studied the scene carefully. I don't see Kenta. He must be inside, preparing the ritual. The communication lacrima activated again. Guys, Lucy's voice came urgently, we're seeing more activity on the western approach. Looks like another group arriving. They're carrying something. Can you identify what? Erza asked. Some kind of containers. 3 of them, glowing different colors. Naruto's expression hardened. The remaining pearls. They're bringing them in now, timing their arrival for the convergence. That's our opportunity, Erza decided. We intercept the pearls before they reach the temple. Without all 7, they can't complete the ritual. She activated the lacrima again. Gray, your team moved to intercept the incoming group. Natsu, Gajeel, create a diversion on the eastern approach. Draw attention away from the west. Got it. We're on it. Erza turned to Naruto. This is where we implement our special approach. When the diversion begins, we'll make our move on the main entrance. Naruto nodded, understanding her intent. You want me to use the resonance, let it build until they feel it too. Exactly. Make them think their lure is working. Before they could discuss further, a tremendous explosion rocked the eastern side of the temple complex. Flames erupted skyward, followed by Natsu's distinctive battle cry echoing across the mountain. Fire dragons roar. Guards scrambled in response, many rushing toward the disturbance. Erza smiled slightly, Natsu's timing was impeccable for once. Now, she said, equipping into her black wing armor for speed and striking power. Let the dragon god magic respond naturally, but keep it focused on the temple entrance. Naruto closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, they glowed with inner blue light. Here goes nothing. Rather than fighting the resonance, he allowed it to build, the blue markings spreading fully across his body. The air around him distorted with magical pressure as he stepped out from their hiding place, walking deliberately toward the temple stairs. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The remaining guards at the entrance froze, clearly sensing the approaching dragon god magic. One pointed in their direction, shouting something to his companions. Erza moved alongside Naruto, wings spread and sword ready. They've noticed us. Oh, they've more than noticed, Naruto replied, his voice carrying that resonant quality it acquired when his power was fully active. The dragon essence they're using as a lure is practically screaming now. The guards at the entrance formed a defensive line, 3 enhanced members moving to the front. Their bodies showed signs of partial transformation, scales, clawed hands, inhuman eyes. Halt, one called out, red scales glinting on his face. You trespass on sacred ground. Sacred? Erza called back. You. Desecrate this temple with your dark ritual. Naruto continued walking forward, each step leaving faint blue impressions in the stone beneath his feet. The enhanced guards shifted uneasily, clearly sensing the power approaching them. It's him, the one with metallic scales murmured audibly. The dragon god descendant. Kenta was right, he came. Kenta expected me, Naruto stated, stopping at the base of the stairs. Tell him I'm here to ensure this ritual never reaches completion. The red-scaled guard laughed. You're too late. The convergence has already begun. Even now, the dragon essences align. When the celestial peak arrives, our ascension will be complete. Not without all 7 pearls, Erza countered. And you're missing some. Uncertainty flashed across the guard's face, quickly masked. A temporary delay. Our brethren approach with the remaining artifacts. You mean these? Gray's voice called from above. All eyes turned to the western ridge, where Gray, Lucy, and Wendy stood triumphantly. Beside them lay three bound figures, the transporters they'd intercepted, and in Lucy's hands, a containment case clearly holding three glowing orbs. No, the iron-enhanced guard snarled. The pearls. Not exactly a full set without these, is it? Lucy called down. Plus the one Naruto already has. That's 4 out of 7 you're missing. The enhanced guards exchanged alarmed glances, clearly recognizing the threat to their plans. The one with sky markings, a woman with feather-like scales along her arms, stepped forward. It doesn't matter. The ritual has advanced too far to stop. The convergence will occur with or without the remaining pearls. She pointed at Naruto. All we truly need is him. That's not happening, Erza stated flatly, moving protectively closer to Naruto. You think you can stop all of us, Titania? The woman laughed. Your reputation is impressive, but against 3 pearl-enhanced dragon slayers. Even you have limits. Erza smiled coldly. Perhaps. But I'm not alone. Neither are we, the fire-enhanced guard retorted. As if on cue, the temple doors swung open, revealing dozens more robed figures within. At their center stood Kenta, his transformation further advanced than when they'd last seen him. Scales covered most of his visible skin, his missing arm now regenerated into a fully draconic limb. Welcome, son of Acnologia, Kenta called out, his voice carrying an unnatural resonance similar to Naruto's. We've been expecting you. Naruto's eyes narrowed, the blue glow intensifying. You've been luring me. Using dragon essence as bait. Perceptive. Kenta descended the stairs, his movement fluid despite his partial transformation. Though, bait is such a crude term. I prefer invitation. To my own sacrifice. No thanks. Kenta laughed. Is that what you think? That we mean to sacrifice you? He shook his head. So limited in your understanding, despite your heritage. We don't want to destroy you, Naruto. We want to join you. Confusion flickered across Naruto's face. Join me? The original ritual, the one that created Acnologia, it wasn't about creating a single dragon god. Kenta spread his arms. It was about creating a pantheon. Multiple vessels, each carrying different aspects of dragon essence, unified under a prime vessel. That's not what the pearl's memories showed, Naruto countered. Because the ritual was corrupted. Acnologia was meant to be the prime vessel, the one who would stabilize and guide the others. But his human heart was weak. He took the power for himself, destroyed his brethren, and became the sole dragon god. Kenta's smile revealed sharpened teeth. We've corrected that flaw in the ritual design. Erza sensed danger in this conversation. Kenta was stalling, keeping them engaged while something else happened. She activated her communication lacrima subtly. Be alert, she murmured. Something's wrong. Indeed, Titania, Kenta said, his enhanced hearing catching her warning. Something is very wrong, for you. He raised his draconic arm, and a pulse of magic erupted from the temple behind him. The sky above darkened unnaturally, clouds swirling as magical energy distorted the natural weather patterns. The convergence accelerates, Kenta announced. With or without all 7 pearls, the cosmic alignment has begun. We merely need to add the final component. He stared directly at Naruto. You. Naruto's body tensed, blue energy crackling around him. I told you, I'm not volunteering for your ritual. Your conscious participation is unnecessary, Kenta replied dismissively. Only your presence. Your blood. Your inheritance. The sky continued to darken, magical pressure building palpably. From their position on the ridge, Gray's team suddenly found themselves surrounded as Hidden Dragon's Covenant members emerged from concealed positions. Erza. Lucy's voice came through the lacrima. We're surrounded. Simultaneously, an explosion from the eastern approach suggested Natsu and Gajeel had encountered similar resistance. A trap within a trap, Erza realized aloud. You knew we'd intercept the Pearl transporters. Of course, Kenta confirmed smugly. Those were decoys, empty containers carried by expendable members. The real pearls. He gestured to the temple behind him, where 3 more glowing orbs had appeared at the points of a ritual circle. Have been here all along. 6 pearls, Naruto counted grimly. You're still missing one. The poison pearl you carry. A regrettable loss, but not critical. 6 will suffice for our purposes. Kenta's expression hardened. Now, you can walk into the temple willingly, or we can take you by force. Either way, your dragon god essence will catalyze our ascension. Naruto and Erza exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Their original plan had failed, but they weren't defeated yet. I'll consider your offer on one condition, Naruto said, surprising everyone. Let my companions go. This is between you and me. Naruto. Erza protested, but he silenced her with a look. Kenta considered the proposal. Your companions are irrelevant to the ritual. Their presence or absence changes nothing. He nodded. Very well. They may leave unharmed once you've entered the temple. Swear it, Naruto insisted. By the dragon blood you've integrated into your body. I swear by the dragon essence I carry, Kenta intoned formally. Your companions will be permitted to leave once you enter the ritual chamber. Naruto nodded, then turned to Erza. Get everyone out of here. This place is going to become very dangerous very soon. I'm not leaving you, she hissed, grabbing his arm. This is suicide. Trust me, he whispered, meeting her eyes directly. I know what I'm doing. The intensity of his gaze conveyed more than words could. Erza searched his face, finding not resignation but determination. He had a plan. 3 minutes, she finally said. If you haven't emerged in 3 minutes, we're coming in after you. A small smile touched his lips. Fair enough. He turned back to Kenta. I accept your terms. Release my friends, and I'll enter voluntarily. Kenta gestured to his followers, who reluctantly lowered their weapons. You have my word. They will not be harmed as long as they make no move against us. Naruto nodded to Erza one last time, then walked up the temple stairs toward Kenta. As he passed the Dark Guild leader, he paused. One thing you should know about dragon god magic, he said quietly. It answers to no one but itself. With those cryptic words, he continued into the temple. Kenta watched him go with triumphant satisfaction before turning back to Erza. Your friend makes a noble sacrifice, he said. Though a pointless one. Once the ritual completes, we will emerge as dragon gods ourselves. Fiori will never be the same. Erza's expression remained impassive. You've made a critical error in your calculations, Kenta. Oh. And what might that be? You assumed Naruto was going to your ritual as a sacrifice. Her lips curved into a cold smile. But I suspect he's going as a saboteur. Uncertainty flickered across Kenta's draconic features. It doesn't matter what he intends. The ritual circle will bind him once he enters. His essence will be extracted regardless of his resistance. We'll see, Erza replied, activating her communication lacrima. All teams, stand ready. 3-minute countdown begins now. Inside the temple, Naruto walked deliberately through torchlit corridors, guided by robed figures toward the central chamber. The resonance he'd felt earlier was now overwhelming, dragon essence calling to his own, magical pressure building with each step. The central chamber opened before him, a massive circular space with a domed ceiling depicting the dragon constellations. At the center, a ritual circle had been carved into the stone floor, glowing with magical energy. 6 pedestals surrounded it, each holding a dragon pearl. Magnificent, isn't it? A voice asked from the shadows. Naruto turned to see an elderly man emerge, dressed in more elaborate robes than the others. Unlike Kenta and the enhanced guards, he showed no signs of draconic transformation. "You're not enhanced," Naruto observed. "I am the ritual master," the old man explained. "My role is to direct, not participate. The vessel candidates must be younger, stronger bodies to survive the transformation." "Vessel candidates? There's more than one." "7 in total. One primary vessel, Kenta, who will absorb the controlling essence of the Apocalypse Dragon. 6 secondary vessels for each elemental aspect." The old man gestured to the circle. "Please, take your place in the center." Naruto approached slowly, studying the ritual setup. The 6 pearls pulsed in rhythm, their energies already beginning to align. The floor beneath them hummed with ancient power, the ley line convergence that made this site so magically potent. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked, buying time as he assessed potential weaknesses in the ritual design. "Decades," the old man replied proudly. "I discovered the original ritual scrolls in the ruins of a prehistoric civilization. Beings who lived alongside the original dragons, who understood their power in ways we've since forgotten. The non-human, non-dragon entities from the Pearl's memories," Naruto realized. "Precisely. You've seen them too." The old man looked delighted. "Fascinating creatures. Neither dragon nor human, yet intimately connected to both. They designed rituals that allowed controlled transfer of dragon essence between vessels. But something went wrong with this response. Please try again. Take us ahead to the next chapter." The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.